a product manager role and was offering a salary of 7.4 crore rupees. Guess what? Even beginner product managers get paid a minimum of 20 lakh rupees. Moreover, you don't require advanced coding skills, and neither does it matter whether you are from a technical background or a non-technical background. If you are a creative individual at core, you should try and become a product manager. And this is exactly what this full course on product management is going to help you achieve. By the end of this course, you will learn all the important metrics, frameworks, tools, and strategies that will help you lead some of the top cutting-edge products being built out there. Let me quickly walk you through the agenda. So first, we will begin with an introduction to product management, look at how product management evolved over the years. Then we will talk about what a product is, and then move on to understanding product management. Then we will look at the roles and responsibility of a product manager. Further, we will cover the types of product management in an organization and some key terminologies used. Then we will go ahead and explore the concept of user and market research with the help of the case study of Blinkit. Next, we will cover the components of product management like sales and marketing strategy, GTM strategy, distribution strategy, and defining the product design. Then we will understand stakeholder management with the help of a case study. Next, we will have product development process where we'll be discussing about popular methodologies like Agile and Scrum, followed by the entire product development cycle and MVP. In the next module, we'll be discussing the technical side of product development with Netflix's complete backend architecture. Next up, we'll be understanding about post-launch analysis along with developing a global strategy where we'll be discussing popular frameworks like PESTEL and SWOT, both backed with case studies for a better understanding. We'll be wrapping up this course with important interview question answers, meaning by the end of this video, you'll have everything to begin your journey as a product manager. It's clear that product management is emerging as a promising career with strong job opportunities and is shaping the future of various industries. But despite the global boom in product management, 22 million job openings worldwide to be exact, the situation in India is quite different. Surprisingly, India only has about 20,000 product managers. This huge gap highlights a critical shortage of talent, and it's mostly because many people aren't even aware of what product management is. So if you're thinking about starting a career in product management, do you need a degree or a diploma? Before I answer that, just a quick reminder, subscribe to Intellipaat's YouTube channel. Now back to the question. Here's something interesting. Product management is becoming the skill of the new age. You don't need advanced coding skills or even a tech background to get started. If you're a creative individual at heart, you already have what it takes to become a product manager. Moving on to how to start your journey in product management. It's not a straightforward path, but it's definitely rewarding. Over the last 2 decades, there's been a lot of buzz around product psychology. Think back to the early 1900s when industrialization was just starting. The challenges back then were basic. Things like transportation, communication, and utilities. A few companies stepped in to solve these problems, and because the market wasn't too competitive, just providing a functional solution was often enough to succeed. But as we evolved, so did our needs and expectations. The business world grew rapidly, and with that came intense competition. Companies weren't just solving basic problems anymore. They were competing to meet more sophisticated consumer demands. Products needed to be user-friendly, innovative, and aligned with what customers wanted. This shift made product management crucial. As markets became crowded and consumers became more discerning, product managers ensured that products not only worked but also resonated with users. It's about figuring out what customers really want and make sure your product meets those needs. Let us look at one such amazing case study. Ben Silverman, an ex-Google customer support developer, created an app called Tote in 2009, which was described as catalog for the phone. His aim was to transform every cell phone into a clothing retail outlet with this one app. Tote connected consumers with dozens of retailers and allowed its users to catalog their favorite items. Tote would then send out an alert to the users whenever any of the cataloged items was on sale so that they could make a purchase. However, the outcome turned out to be a little different than what Ben expected. The users, instead of making purchases through the app, used it to share their collections with each other. But Ben did not look at it as a setback. Rather, he recalled how he collected insects as a kid and loved sharing his collection with others. He thought of implementing something like this in Toad as well. And just like that, Pinterest was born and became a very big hit very quickly. For one main reason, it allows users to pin whatever they're interested in and add it to their personal collection, the way users actually wanted the app to function. Interesting, right? Now let us understand what a product is. A product can be just an idea that can be presented to the society or market. For example, let's go back to the 4000 BCE when the concept of the wheel came into existence. It reshaped the entire way people looked at transport and solved the issue of carrying heavy goods from one place to another. Or look at the Gutenberg's printing press, which transformed the entire mode of communication. Or a product can be an item like the shampoo, fruits, vegetables, electronics, clothes, and hundreds of other goods available in the market. Last category of a product is in the form of a service, be it your food delivery or a haircut you get at the salon. It all comes under services. Even the applications on your devices are all services. Now that we know the clear definition of a product, let us understand product management. Product management deals with multiple fields in a business, and it is quite difficult to come up with a definition for product management. At the very core, product management is something that is needed to meet the gap between what the customer wants and what is technically and operationally possible. Product management helps to discover a product that is valuable, usable, and feasible. Martin Erickson, founder of Product Tank, defined product management as the intersection between functions of business, technology, and user experience. He further stated that a good product manager must be experienced in at least one and passionate about all three. In order to build the right product and build the product right, product management can be mainly categorized into 3 steps or phases. First is product strategy, which is just thinking about what to build. Here is where the customer's need and demand is considered so that the product is successful and generates revenue. Next comes the development phase where the product is brought to life. And then finally, the marketing of the product, which is very crucial as it deals with how to promote and sell the product. So in a nutshell, product management is an aspect that ensures that the customer gets the desired product or the outcome that was asked by him or her, while also keeping in mind the business goals and objectives. Next up, we'll talk about what a product manager does. Based on the organization size, specific responsibilities of a product manager differ. For instance, in larger organizations, product managers often have the support of various teams like marketing, engineering, design, and sales to help bring a product to life. However, with more help comes the challenge of ensuring everyone is on the same page. Hence, in such cases, the product managers spend more time aligning these stakeholders behind a specific vision. But when it comes to a small organization, a product manager is required to do more of the hands-on work that comes while defining the vision. Let us take a closer look at the roles and responsibilities of a product manager by taking an example of a fitness app. The core of product management is understanding the end users, their challenges, goals, and preferences when it comes to managing their fitness routines. Say the product manager figures out that users want personalized workout plans. Next, you analyze the current market, examine popular fitness apps to understand what features they offer, their pricing models, and user reviews, and notice that competitors lack detailed nutrition tracking, a gap that could be filled. Keeping this in mind, you define the product vision, an app that combines personalized workout and nutrition, something that aligns with your company's goals and also fills the market gap. Basically answering the question, what are we building and why? Next, the product manager aligns stakeholders, from engineers to marketing and even sales, around this vision and ensures everyone understands the goal. To keep the project on track, a product manager prioritizes features, deciding that personalized workouts are a must-have for the first release, while advanced nutrition tracking will come later on. Once the product, which is the app in our case, is built, tested, and released in the marketplace, the performance of the product is constantly monitored and the feedback is collected and implemented in the next release after a discussion with the concerned parties. Now that we know the major roles and responsibilities of a product manager, let us see the different types of product managers in an organization. Digital product managers drive the strategy for web-based products. They focus on creating seamless user experiences. Product marketing managers usually have a strong background in marketing as they delve deeper into market research, ensuring products resonate with target customers and they implement go-to-market or the GTM plans. Growth product managers specialize in amplifying business expansion by harnessing product features as sales tools. This job role is for someone who is intrigued by the idea of scaling business. Technical product manager is someone who has a technical background, and even though his or her job role is similar to that of a generic product manager, a technical product manager is able to contribute more to the engineering team and is the hands-on part of the projects. Data product manager focuses on data collection, processing, and analysis to support decision-making within the company. Before we dive into the theoretical aspects of product management, let us look at some frequently used key terms. The first term we have is MVP, which stands for Minimum Viable Product. It is the simplest version of a product that you need to build to sell it to a market with the least amount of risk and investment. The goal is to validate the product concept and learn from real users before investing in a full-scale launch. Next is MBI, or Minimum Business Increment. This focuses on delivering the smallest feature updates or improvements in the product that positively impact the business rather than releasing all the features at once. And then we talk about MMF, or Minimum Marketable Feature. We're referring to the smallest chunk of functionality in a product that delivers real value to users and can actually be marketed or sold. It's a feature that's fully developed and ready to be released on its own. And lastly, we have the MMR, Minimum Marketable Release, which is essentially the smallest version of a product that's ready to hit the market. It's more robust than an MVP or MMF, aiming to meet market needs right away while leaving room for future improvements. I hope these terms aren't confusing and you guys are getting a hang of it.
Hey people, time to check your learning so far. What is one of the primary responsibilities of a product manager? Writing code for the product, designing marketing campaigns, defining the product vision and strategy, or handling company finances. Which of the following is not a type of product manager? Growth product manager, technical product manager, sales product manager, or platform product manager? If you know the answer, make sure to drop them in the comment section. Just a quick info guys, Intellipaat offers Executive Professional Certification Program in Product Management, which will help you gain expertise in topics like Product Lifecycle Management, Market Analysis, Agile Methodologies, and User Experience Design, along with mastering the latest tools and techniques with hands-on projects and real-world case studies. And the best part, this course will be taught to you by IIT Indore Drishti CPS. With this course, we have already helped thousands of professionals in successful career transitions. You can check out their testimonials on our Achievers channel, whose link is given in the description down below. Without a doubt, this course can set your career to new heights. So visit the course page link given below in the description and take your first step towards your journey as a product manager.
So let's quickly go through the agenda. So the first topic we'll be covering is user and market research, which basically means understanding your market. So before you launch any product, you need to have a clear understanding of what your market looks like. Then next we're going to look at the Blinkit case study. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the sales and marketing strategy that we can apply while launching our product. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the GTM strategy, which is also called the go-to-market strategy. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the distribution strategy, customer feedback review, defining the product design, stakeholder management, and we'll also go and look at a case study on it. So basically, before a business invests in any idea, it is very crucial to ensure that that idea aligns with the customer interest. So this is where understanding your market comes in the picture. Let us go ahead and look at these topics in detail, right? So understanding your market is a very critical aspect of product management. And it involves two major components, which is environment analysis and competitor analysis. So both are essential in shaping a strategy that aligns with the market needs and positions your product effectively. Let's break down these concepts. So environment analysis is like scanning your horizon. It's like looking at a bigger picture. We are launching a product, but we're looking at the world outside our product that could impact its success. Right? So it involves assessing the external factors that can influence our product and our business as well. So here's what you need to focus on when we're doing an environment analysis. So the first one is PESTEL analysis, which is our go-to tool for understanding the external factors at play. So PESTEL basically stands for political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and the legal factors. So the first one, which is political, it basically involves keeping an eye on the rules and regulations that are passed by the government. So consider this scenario where you launch a product, and after you launch your product, you get to know about some rules and regulations that are passed by the government that directly affect your product and your organization. This could have a very negative impact on your product. So you'd want to know about things like trade policies, tax laws, or even how stable the government is, right? So all these factors come under the political factor. The next factor that we have is economic. This one's all about money, how the economy might help or hurt your product. So this basically tells you whether the people who are interested in your product will be able to afford it or not. It talks about factors like inflation, exchange rates, and the overall economic growth. So the next factor is social. This basically deals with the cultural and social aspects of your market. So here we talk about people, what they care about, what they believe in, what they like to spend on, right? So for example, consider your target market is shifting towards the eco-friendly products and your company launches something that's against that trend. Your product is likely to face a huge backlash, right? So social factors like demography, culture, and lifestyle can make or break your product. The next factor that we have is technological. This is where the gadgets and innovations come into play. Technology moves really fast, and if your product cannot keep up with the current trends, your product is likely to just get lost in the dust, right? So you need to consider how technological advancements or the pace of innovation could impact your market. The next factor that we have is environmental. With the ongoing shift to the concern for the environment, if your product isn't eco-friendly, your product is likely to face some pushback. So the environmental factors like climate change, environmental regulations, and sustainability trends are very important to consider when you're launching a product or when you're developing a product. The last one is legal. So you need to stay on the right side of the law, whether it's about protecting consumer rights, ensuring product safety, or even safeguarding intellectual property. Keeping up with legal changes is crucial to avoid any lawsuits. So the second method to conduct an environmental analysis is industry analysis. So understanding the industry in which your product is going to compete in is very crucial. So this analysis, called the industry analysis, can be done using the Porter's 5 forces. So these Porter's 5 forces basically evaluate the threat of new entrants, bargaining power of suppliers and buyers, threat of substitute products or services, and competitive rivalry. So let's go ahead and look at all these forces in detail. So when we talk about threat of new entrants, we're basically talking about how easy it is for any new competitor to enter the market. Or to avoid a very strong competition from any new entry, it is important to create a high barrier. This can be easily done by creating a high capital requirement or even regulatory requirements. These methods can help you protect your product from new competitors. Second one is bargaining power of suppliers. So the bargaining power of suppliers is analyzed to check how much power the suppliers have over the business. So if there are a few number of suppliers and these suppliers provide a unique item or a unique service, they can have a huge impact or they can hold more power over your business. These suppliers are more likely to affect the costs and the supply chains. Bargaining power of the buyers tells us how much power the buyers hold over the business. The buyers here are the customers. So if customers have many choices or they can easily switch between products, they have higher bargaining power, and this also means that they can easily drive the prices down. So this can be a major contributing factor from the market perspective. So the fourth one is threat of substitute products. So you need to answer a very basic question. Are there any products that could replace yours? So understanding your substitute products helps you identify the potential threats and adjust your strategy accordingly. Fifth one is competitive rivalry. It deals with how intense the competition can be in your industry. right? High competition can lead to price wars, increased marketing costs, and the need for continuous innovation. So these Porter's 5 forces can help you create a product that is competitive in the current market, right? And the next one is market trends and dynamics, such as shifts in consumer preferences, emerging technologies, regulatory changes, and economic shifts. These trends can indicate new opportunities or threats to your product success. The next way to perform environmental analysis is by conducting a market trends and analysis. So why do we need market analysis? One is to find new opportunities. Second is to stay competitive. And third is by doing a market trends and analysis research. So why do we need market analysis? When we do a market analysis, we get to know about the areas of opportunities where our product can grow. This is how we figure out where our organization can gain more profit. Second is to stay competitive. When we do a market analysis, we get to know about the different brands, the different products that are out there in the market. This helps us stay competitive. This helps us make our product more compatible in the market. Third reason why we need market analysis is to make smart business decisions. Whenever we face new competition or whenever there arises a problem, if we have the proper research about the market, we can make smart decisions about our product and help it grow. Next, what we have is competitive analysis. So once you're done conducting an environment analysis for your product, you can go ahead and conduct a competitive analysis where you analyze your competition. You understand your competitors and identify the strategies that you can implement in your organization to effectively make your product better, right? So competitive analysis follows a few easy steps. The first one is to identify your competitors. So this category can be divided into further 3 categories, which is direct competitors, indirect competitors, and potential competitors. So direct competitors are basically the companies or products that offer the very same items or the very same products or services as your organization. So say for example, your organization or business decides to manufacture smartphones or mobiles. So your direct competitors would be companies like Apple and Samsung, right? Whereas indirect competitors are companies or products that offer different products, but at the end satisfy the same consumer needs. So say for example, your organization is offering a video streaming service and you're deciding to do a market analysis or a competitor analysis. So your indirect competitors would be somewhere around the TV cable services or even YouTube, which is a video streaming app, right? And lastly comes the potential competitors. So these are companies or brands out there which might enter your market, but currently are not present there. So these potential competitors could be from your adjacent industries or startups that could enter the market soon. So this is why it is very essential to do a complete competitor analysis in order to be prepared for your further competition. So once you have identified your competitors, the next step is to analyze the competitor products. This can be achieved by the following methods. So the first way to analyze your competitors' products is by comparing the features, like the quality and the usability of your competitors' products with your own. So this can be done with users' feedback or the reviews. You can identify the strengths and weaknesses. So if the customer is appreciating something about the product, you can note that feature down and maybe enhance it or incorporate that into your product as well. Or say a customer or a consumer gives a feedback that he or she does not like a particular feature about your competitor's product. So you can mark that area and improve that area particularly to enhance your product's quality. So this information can particularly improve your product development and differentiate it from the competitor's products. Then you need to analyze the competitor's pricing strategies, whether or not they are positioning themselves as premium, mid-range, or budget-friendly, right? So understanding their pricing model helps you put a competitive price on your product. And lastly, which is also the most important one, is the customer reviews and feedback. So monitoring the customer's review and feedback on your competitors' products is as necessary as monitoring the reviews on your products. So this step involves asking very basic questions about your competitors' products. For example, basically questions like, what are the customers saying about the product? What are the pain points about the product? What are the areas that it can improve in? Or what are the qualities that the customers really like about it? So these insights can really help you improve your product. So once you're done analyzing your competitor's product, the third way you can analyze your competitor is by analyzing your competitor's marketing and sales strategy. So you need to identify how your competitor is reaching its target audience. What kind of channels, what kind of social media platform, what kind of messaging app is it using to reach the target audience? How is it engaging with the target audience? Is it using paid advertising, or is it using SEO or content marketing? It could be a lot of things, or it could be just one thing. You need to know about your competitor's strategy before you start implementing your own. You need to analyze how your competitors are positioning themselves as a brand. You need to analyze how do they differentiate themselves from the rest of the brands. This can help you refine your own brand positioning. Next comes the very important step, which is the competitor SWOT analysis. This step helps analyze the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats of competitors in the market. Here's how you can conduct one. So in order to check your competitor's strength, you need to find answers to very simple questions like what do they do well? What are they doing different? How are they identifying themselves as a brand? What resources or advantages do they have? Once you have answers to these simple questions, you can easily list down the strengths of your competitor and maybe even come up with strategies better than them and implement them for your product. This is how you make your product grow. Similarly, you need to identify their weaknesses as well. This is as important as opportunities. So weaknesses can be assessed by questions like where do they fall short? What are their vulnerabilities? What are the pain points that the customers are not liking about the product? So once you have identified the weaknesses of a competitor's product, your product can be unbeatable. Then comes finding the opportunities. What are the areas that your competitors haven't tapped into yet? There must be some market segments that your competitors haven't exploited yet. So these are the opportunities that you need to grab before your competitors do. Lastly comes the potential threats faced by your competitors. So these potential threats could definitely be the new competition that could enter the market and could be a potential threat to your competitors. So you need to do a full market research before you enter any field or market. Then the last step for competitive analysis is benchmarking. So benchmarking basically helps you compare your product with your competitors. It helps you identify areas that your product can be improved in. Product performance, customer satisfaction, marketing effectiveness, and operational efficiency are some of the factors that can be achieved and improved with the help of benchmarking. So now that we have understood how to analyze your market before launching your product, let's go ahead and look at a very interesting case study of Blinkit. So Blinkit started as Grofers in the year 2013. This was the time when people were just getting started with the idea of online shopping. But the main challenge that Grofers faced was that people were not used to shopping their groceries online. People were more comfortable with the idea of going to their local stores or the local kiranas and getting their fresh produce themselves. So Grofers started as a traditional grocery delivery service. It began with the main aim of catering to the convenience of home delivery in the urban areas. So the main target of Grofers was urban areas. It did not even look at the rural areas. Initially, it had competitors like Amazon Pantry and Big Basket. In 2021, however, the quick commerce or these online deliveries in India was gaining momentum. So people started preferring these online delivery services. This was also the time when the big players like Swiggy, Instamart and Dunzo entered the market and took over it really quickly. What was different about them? Well, they had an idea. They had a different idea than what was initially happening. They promised instant delivery. This changed the entire game in the grocery delivery service. Now, to stay competitive and to compete with these big players, what Grofers did was it rebranded itself as Blinkit. Now, this rebranding wasn't just a simple change in the name of the brand. It was a change in the entire business model. Now, the decision to implement this change was driven by two main factors. The first one was consumer behavior. Now, the people of the urban area were shifting more towards convenience. They no longer preferred to go themselves to the local stores and buy the fresh produce. Rather, they were more inclined towards the idea of getting it delivered on their doorstep. This was one reason why Blinkit decided to enter the market with this idea. The second was an even better one, the pandemic. The pandemic had changed the entire idea of people's lifestyle. Now the people had a need for a quick and reliable delivery service. And this is where Blinkit came in the picture. So even though the demand for Blinkit had increased over the years, there were still some challenges. And to overcome these challenges, Blinkit implemented a few basic strategies. Let's go ahead and look at them. So the first one was to set up micro warehouses in densely populated areas. So this helped Blinkit in fulfilling the orders rapidly. The second strategy was investment in technology. Blinkit heavily invested in technology to find the best routes, the optimized routes, so that their delivery partners could reach the location on time. And the third strategy was partnering with the local stores. So what Blinkit did was it went ahead and partnered with the local stores. This did not just allow Blinkit to offer a wide range of products, but it also helped minimize the time and the operational costs. So this helped Blinkit play really smart in the market and compete with the big players like Swiggy and Dunzo. Next up, we'll go ahead and look at the STP, or the segmentation, targeting and positioning of Blinkit. So Blinkit segmented its customers, or the target consumers, very smartly. So Blinkit only focused on urban areas, specifically on cities where there was high internet and the infrastructure supported their fast delivery model. Demographically, Blinkit targeted young professionals, tech-savvy individuals, and families who were pressed on time for their groceries. Moreover, Blinkit targeted customers who needed their groceries delivered frequently on short notice period, and moreover, they preferred their groceries to be delivered on their doorstep. Next comes the targeting. So Blinkit's targeting strategy was primarily centered on Tier 1 cities, which are the hubs of urban life in India. So these cities have the infrastructure to support a quick delivery model, mainly because these cities house a number of busy professionals, young families, and college students. Next up is positioning. Well, Blinkit has positioned itself as the go-to platform for instant delivery of daily essentials, mainly because of the rebranding strategy that it implemented. With their promise of delivering groceries in under 10 minutes, Blinkit appeals to consumers who need things quickly, whether it's restocking the kitchen or grabbing last-minute items. Next, we'll go ahead and look at the SWOT analysis of Blinkit. So first, let's look at the strengths. So one of Blinkit's major strengths is their brand name. They have a strong brand recognition, especially after their rebranding from Grofers. The name Blinkit itself conveys speed and efficiency, which aligns perfectly with their business model. Next up, let's look at the weaknesses. So the biggest weakness for Blinkit is the high operational cost that comes with supporting such quick deliveries. This includes expenses like logistics, technology, and the workforce that is required to fulfill these orders. Next up is the opportunities. So one significant opportunity for Blinkit is expansion to the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities with the ongoing growth of internet and smartphone usage in rural areas, right? And additionally, Blinkit can also tap into other instant delivery categories like pharmacy products and electronics. The threats faced by Blinkit are definitely the big players like Swiggy, Instamart, Zepto, and Big Basket. So these are the major competitors which are vying for dominance in this instant delivery service. So the major takeaway you can take from this case study is Blinkit's marketing strategy. So Blinkit has always marketed in a way that is relatable and fun. They have introduced campaigns like India Ka Last Minute app. These are the things that kept the Gen Z as well as the millennials hooked to their application. At the end of the day, Blinkit's story is a lesson in adaptability. By understanding the market trends and the consumer needs, Blinkit managed to invest in the correct business model. And this is what has allowed it to stay ahead in the fiercely competitive space. So now that you have understood your market, you conducted an environmental analysis, you understood your competitors, You can easily go ahead and build your product. But what about once you have built the world's best product? What do you do after that? Do you just sit back and relax? Do you just wait for the consumers, your target market, to get to know about your product? You will obviously not do that. You will obviously not just go ahead and launch your application on Play Store or App Store and just wait for the consumers to download it, right? You will need more than that. You need to market your product. You need to implement strategies like go-to-market or GTM. This is when people will get to know about your product.
Hi, time to ruffle your memory again. What is the primary focus of a product manager when conducting user and market research? Identifying potential investors for the product, understanding the market through environment and competitive analysis, determining the financial budget for product development, or managing the engineering team. If you know the answer, make sure to drop them in the comment section. Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat offers Executive Professional Certification Program in Product Management, which will help you gain expertise in topics like product lifecycle management, market analysis, agile methodologies, and user experience design, along with mastering the latest tools and techniques with hands-on projects and real-world case studies. And the best part, this course will be taught to you by IIT faculty and the top 1% industry experts. What's more, you'll be getting certified in product management by the IIT Indore Drishti CPS. With this course, we have already helped thousands of professionals in successful career transitions. You can check out their testimonials on our Achievers channel, whose link is given in the description down below. Without a doubt, this course can set your career to new heights. So visit the course page link given below in the description and take your first step towards your journey as a product manager.
So traditionally, sales and marketing have worked as separate entities, each function delivering a unique value to the organization. But a synergy between the two can really maximize the business success. So our next topic is sales and market strategy. So in this section, we're going to look at the individual goals of these two strategies and how a combination of these two strategies can bring the maximum success to your business, right? So the primary goal of a sales strategy is to basically sell the product or the services of an organization, right? So the sales process requires building and managing the relationships with the potential customers and then eventually converting these potential customers to guidance and providing the best possible solutions for their problems and converting these potential customers to actual customers, right? So let's look at some of the functionalities that a sales team needs to perform. So the first preferable interaction that a sales team makes with a customer is through a call. So on a call, the sales team is basically required to present new offers, participate in pitches and demonstrations, right? And the next step sales team is required to perform is identify the potential customers' pain points, the problems that the customers are facing, and then present them with the customized right solutions and the right products that your organization can offer them. Then the third step is to identify the exact correct moment when that potential customer can be converted into an actual customer so that your organization can generate revenue. Now, this is a very crucial step because if your sales team pushes a sale too soon, there could be a possibility of losing that potential customer. But if that sale is pushed at the correct moment, there are chances that the potential customer will be converted into an actual customer and hence leading to a revenue generation for your organization. And then comes the marketing strategy. So this basically involves content marketing, social media, public relations, advertising, or even paid advertisements, right? So these are some of the tactics that are implemented to attract the possible customers. So a marketing strategy provides a structure for and guidance on executing marketing tasks. So we'll just go ahead and quickly look at some of the very important steps to implement an effective marketing strategy. So the first one is conducting a market research. Whenever we're conducting a market research, we need to identify a target audience, the correct market, and our competition. So this will eventually help us make our product more successful. Next comes analyzing consumer behavior. So this basically means that you need to analyze the users or your consumers about their behavior, like how they interact with your product, how they behave when they're using their product, their patterns, and things like that. Analyzing user behavior will help you evaluate what users find value in and enable you to improve your product eventually. Next is determining which markets to target. Now, this is very crucial because you need to identify a group of potential customers who are most likely to invest in your company's products and services and continue to do so. So, the factors like demography, geography, and the user behavior are very important to consider. These characteristics help determine who might purchase a company's product and who might not. Then comes performing a competitor analysis. Now, this is something that we have already discussed in detail. And this is also the most crucial factor when launching a product. Then comes developing a brand to distinguish the company from competitors. Now, it is very important in today's day to establish a strong brand identity. Just like we discussed in Blinkit's case study, Blinkit was originally known as Grofers, and then eventually it rebranded its name to Blinkit, which aligned perfectly with the organization's business model. So your organization needs to have a very strong brand identity in order to distinguish itself from the other competitors in that particular field. Then comes establishing competitive pricing. Now, this again comes under competitor analysis, where we discussed the pricing strategy. Once you have analyzed your competitors' pricing models for their products in the same field as your company, it becomes easier for your organization to have a very competitive price for your product so that your product does not face a backlash from the target audience that you are targeting in the market, right? And then comes creating promotions across various media. Now, this is again an awareness phase where you need to make the users or your target audience, the market that you're targeting, know about the product that you are launching. So this is again a very crucial factor because this involves marketing and sales. So basically, first, the marketing department identifies an opportunity, gets the attention of the users, and then keeps them engaged. It could be through social media posts, through stories, reels, and things like that. Then when the candidate is ready to make a buying decision, so the marketing team is going to keep a track of how often the user is interacting with their website or their blogs or any social media platform, right? So once they identify that the user is very much interested in the product, they are going to hand over that particular customer to the sales team. Now, this is where the sales team steps in and works on making that potential customer, the candidate, and converting him into an actual customer. So a sales and marketing strategy combines elements of both sales and marketing. So what happens is an effective marketing strategy raises awareness about the company's products and services, makes it available to the users out there, and then comes a sound sales strategy, steps in and converts these possibilities into customers. So you guys must have understood that taking a new product to a market is no cakewalk. You need to have all the ingredients right, from pricing to messaging and even the sales process. And even after that, you need to continue to provide the best customer services possible. And then comes your go-to-market strategy. This is one of the most critical pieces of the puzzle. A successful GTM or the go-to-market strategy should capture your customers' attention, help you develop a strong identity or a strong brand presence, and set you up to close the best deals. So a GTM strategy applies no matter whether you're trying to break into a new market or you're trying to reach your current market. Remember, poor product fit and oversaturation can hinder a new product launch, even if the product is well designed and innovative. So be sure to take this into account when putting together your go-to-market strategy. So let's look at the components of GTM strategy. The first one is market definition. So the market definition is basically which markets are you trying to target when you're trying to sell your product or service. Then comes the customers. Who is your target audience or your target market, and what do the demographics look like within these markets, right? And then comes the distribution model. So a distribution model is something that we'll be looking into in detail, but in layman terms, it basically means a company's method of getting the products or services to the customers or the end users. So it basically involves of two methods, that is indirect or direct. You guys do not need to worry about it right now because we'll be covering it in detail. So a distribution model basically tries to tell us how the company is trying to deliver the product or service to the consumer. Then comes the product messaging and positioning. So whatever is being sold by your organization, how is it unique? What is its unique value? And how is it different from the other products and services already out there in the market? And the last component is price. So what should be the pricing strategy for your product or service for each consumer group, right? So a GTM strategy is basically a document that outlines your pricing structure, your aspects of your target market, your value proposition, and your distribution plan. So it's basically a roadmap for whenever you're trying to launch a product, right? It gives you a detailed structure of how you're going to go about things, right? And then we're going to look at the A3R3 model or the pirate funnel. So this basically consists of 3 A's and 3 R's, where the 3 A's stand for awareness, acquisition, activation, and then the 3 R's stand for retention, revenue, and referral. So now we'll quickly go ahead and look at the pirate funnel. So the first step or the first stage of the customer journey is awareness. Creating awareness about your product and introducing it to your target audience and the target market is the first very crucial step when you're launching your product. So if your target audience or your target market is not aware about a product that you're launching, that you want to sell them, how is it going to make a sale, right? Even affecting marketing techniques such as content marketing, SEO, social media, campaigns, and even paid advertisements. These are some of the ways that you can let your target audience know about your product. This also increases your brand visibility and attracts these potential customers. The next step is acquisition. So this basically tries to convert these potential customers into leads. So you can use landing pages to get the contact information of these potential customers. The reason is simple. Once you have the contact information for your potential customers, you can hand them over to your sales team once you feel like these potential customers can be converted into actual customers. You can even use referral programs or discounts as incentives for people to sign up to your website. One company that implemented this strategy is Dropbox. So what Dropbox did was it basically came up with discounts for its users, and once it started doing that, its users grew significantly, right? So the next step is activation. So at the activation stage, you interact with your potential customers. It could be via a call, it could be via emails, through social media, marketing, webinars, any sort of communication. This is the time when you present them with personalized content and offers to further convert these potential customers into actual customers. Then comes the retention phase. So this phase is all about keeping your customers engaged and interested in doing business with you. You need to provide exceptional customer service so that they stay hooked with your product. Then comes the revenue. At the revenue stage, you need to turn your customers into paying customers. So up until the retention phase, you were just focused on keeping your customers engaged with your product. You were not asking them for any payment. But at the revenue stage, this is when you start generating revenue for your organization. And you can come up with strategies like that to encourage people to purchase your product or service. It could even be an in-app purchase. So whatever revenue generation model your company has decided to provide your customers, you need to implement some sort of strategy for your customers to buy it. Then comes the referral. This is the most important part after your company has started generating revenue from a customer. So this basically deals with networking. You need to ask your customers, you need to motivate them to market your product or service through word of mouth. So it basically works by your existing customers spreading a word of mouth to their friends and families. So you can get your product marketed through this strategy. You can also offer discounts, referral points, and incentives whenever your customer refers your product to a family or a friend, right? So let us consider a scenario where your organization builds an app. So let's keep it plain and simple. Your organization has launched an app. It could be a gaming app or a shopping app. Let's consider a gaming app for now. And it has already launched it in the market. And now you're trying to get it to your customers and generate revenue. So if you're trying to do it through an A3R3 funnel model or the pirate model, this is how it's going to look like. So first comes the awareness phase. This is when the person comes across your app. It could be through your social media, it could be through any sort of campaign that you have launched for your product, or the person could have simply found it on Play Store or the App Store. So this is just when the person comes to know about it. The person or the user is just getting aware about your product. Then comes the acquisition phase. This is when the person has downloaded your app. Now, once the person has downloaded your app, he becomes a user or a potential customer for your organization. Then comes the activation phase. So up until now, the app was just lying in their phone. They had downloaded it, but they had never used it. So in the acquisition phase, the person has opened your app and he is exploring the features and the functionalities of your app. Then comes the retention phase. Now, once the person has explored the features of your application, the person is still interested in doing so. He is continuously using your app. So this is how the retention phase works, right? The person has not just used your app once and uninstalled it from the phone. So the person has not just used the app once and just uninstalled it. He's continuing to use the app. And this also means that you can further convert this potential customer into an actual customer. This is when the revenue phase comes. So now that you know a user is continuously using your app, that means that the user is interested or intrigued by the features that your application is providing him. So this is when you present offers or discounts for the in-app purchases, or maybe a premium feature that he can unlock to explore more features, right? So once you know the user is continuously using your app, you can conclude that he or she is interested in the features and is intrigued by it, right? So you can take advantage of this opportunity and go ahead and provide discounts or incentives or maybe points on each in-app purchase, or maybe a premium subscription that he can purchase and unlock more features, or maybe even remove simple ads, right? So this is how the revenue phase works. You need to encourage the user to make the purchase. And this can be done by discounts or referral programs or incentives or even points, right? Then comes the referral phase. Now the user is so much interested in your application, he likes your product so much that he is recommending it to his friends and family members. So this is how you get a free marketing strategy applied over here. So this is all about the A3R3 funnel or the pirate funnel, and this is also how the GTM strategy is applied. So the next topic that we'll be diving into is a product distribution strategy. So a product distribution strategy or a distribution strategy is basically a strategic plan that is used by an organization to deliver products or services to the end users or the consumers, right? So companies can distribute products through direct or indirect channels or distribution strategies. So in some cases, companies use multiple types of distributions or methods to deliver products to different types of customers. So before we go ahead and look at these different methods, let's understand what is a distributor. So a distributor is someone who purchases the products, stores them, and then sells them through a distribution channel. They basically stand between the manufacturers and the end users or the customers. So it is very essential to find a distributor who matches your company's goals and vision. Right? The right distributor could enhance a company's exposure in the product market and give an edge in terms of speed and efficiency. So now let's go ahead and look at the different types of distributors that are out there. So first one is wholesalers. So these distributors basically purchase the goods in large quantities from manufacturers and resell them to retailers or small distributors. So an example of a wholesale distributor could be anybody who purchases maybe say household items in a large amount of quantities in bulk from the manufacturers and then resells them to the retail chains like Walmart. Then the next distributor are the retailers. These distributors basically buy products directly from the manufacturers or the wholesalers and then sell them to the general public. An example could be the e-commerce websites like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, and so on. So what these e-commerce websites do, they basically buy the products or partner with brands like Nike, Mango, and so many others, and then basically sell these products to the end users. So they act as a middleman between the manufacturers and the end users. Then come the direct distributors. So these direct distributors work directly with the customers. They bypass retailers, wholesalers, and any broker or any kind of distributor that could be a middleman, right? So these direct distributors even sometimes bypass the manufacturers. So an example could be Tupperware. So this brand basically relies on a network of direct distributors, which is the sales team. So these sales representatives, they directly make the sales to the customers, and whatever profit they have is of their own. The next kind of distributor is a broker. So a broker is a kind of distributor who doesn't really own any kind of product or service, rather just connects the buyer and the seller. So he basically facilitates a transaction without physically handling anything. So an example of a broker could be a real estate broker who facilitates the sale of any property. It could be a bungalow, a flat, an apartment, anything, and his profit is just the commission that is provided by both the end parties. So these are the four main and important distributor profiles. Now let's go ahead and look at the two main types of product distribution strategies. The first one is direct distribution. So a direct distribution occurs when the product's producer or the manufacturer and the customer interact directly. They make the transaction directly without involving any third party or any middleman. So the sales could occur directly from a company's website, their store, or through a transaction with the company's dedicated sales team. Right? So an interesting example of a direct distribution strategy would be, say, a consumer buys an Adidas pair of shoes directly from the Adidas website or their store. So this is what is called a direct sales channel or a direct distribution. Then comes the indirect distribution, which occurs when a company or a brand involves a third party or a partner, which are also called value-added resellers, to sell the company's product or service. So in an indirect distribution channel, a third party acts as an intermediary between the company and the customer. So an indirect distribution strategy can be further divided into 4 distribution channels. So a distribution channel is basically the flow of business that occurs between a manufacturer and a customer. It is basically the path that a transaction follows. There are 4 levels as we discussed. So we'll go ahead and break down these 4 levels and understand how a distribution channel works in an indirect sales. So if we consider level 0, it will basically be called a direct sales because a level 0 distribution channel is very simple. It does not involve any intermediary. It is basically a direct sales from the manufacturer to the customer, as we already looked at the direct sales strategy. So a level 0 indirect sale is also called a direct sale. So a level 1 channel has one intermediary as a middleman between the producer and the consumer. An example is again a retailer between a manufacturer and the consumer. It could be Amazon, Flipkart, e-commerce websites, or maybe the stores that are available. The next is a level 2 distribution channel, which basically involves 2 intermediaries between the producer and the consumer. So an example would be a wholesaler selling to a retailer who then sells to the consumer. Level 3 is where an agent or a broker also come in the picture. So agents work on behalf of companies and deal primarily with wholesalers. From here, the wholesalers sell to retailers who then sell to the customers. So as you keep adding the intermediaries, you keep increasing the level of your distribution channel. So this is all about distribution channels. Now let's look at the 3 types of distribution. So distribution strategies depend on the type of product being sold. The trick is knowing what type of distribution you will need to achieve your growth goals, right? So the 3 methods of distribution basically outline how manufacturers choose how they want their goods to be dispersed in the market. The first one is intensive distribution. So intensive distribution basically is as many outlets, as many stores as possible. The goal of intensive distribution is to penetrate the market as much as possible, right? Then comes selective distribution. Now this involves select outlets, select stores in very specific locations. Doing this allows manufacturers to pick a price point that targets a specific market of consumer, therefore providing a more customized shopping experience. Then we have exclusive distribution. This involves very limited outlets. So this can mean anything from luxury brands, right? They are very exclusive, available only in very particular locations or areas. So this method basically helps an organization to maintain a brand image and the product's exclusivity, right? Examples of some brands that are following this exclusive distribution strategy would be high-end designers like Chanel or automotive companies like Ferrari, right? So this was all about distribution strategy. Now, the next topic that we have is product design. So a product design is basically a process of creating the product, right? From understanding the problem statement to creating a solution for it. It is like the unnoticed hero of the product world. No one will notice if you do everything right, but the moment you take a wrong step, everyone is going to notice you. So in this section, we will quickly go through the design team and the fundamentals of a good UI UX. But before we dive into these concepts, let me quickly tell you about a brand that completely revolutionized the product design: Apple. So initially, Apple's Macintosh, launched in the 1970s, wasn't very attractive. It featured a dull, sandy color and chunky keys, right? People enjoyed using it, but it wasn't very visually appealing. Like, people didn't really like to look at it. It was just about the functions and the features, right? But this changed with the iMac G3 in 1998. Apple introduced a bright, bondy blue model that people really loved. They instantly fell in love with it. This design completely stood out of the typical boring beach computers of the time, right? Since then, companies have realized the good product design. Since then, companies have begun to realize how important it is for a product to have a good design, for it to stand out in the crowded market filled with similar products. It could be smartphones or even fitness trackers. Now let's look at the different roles in a product design team, right? So the first one is UX designer, or also known as user experience and interaction designer. So this person basically focuses on improving the user's experience and overall making the experience easy and joyful. So they're required to conduct an extensive research on the user behavior and come up with a product design that the user will definitely enjoy, right? Then there are graphic designers. So they cater to the artistic roles like creating the graphs, icons, logos, and other visual elements of the product experience. So their job role basically involves selecting the color schemes or the color palettes and even tweaking the individual pixels according to the product design and the goals of the company, right? Then comes the motion or animation designer. They don't create the art, but they give life to it. So whenever a product experience involves anything that is moving, it could be a simple transition or even a real life avatar that is controlled by a user. This is when the motion designers come into play. They work on this extremely complicated part of the design and make it look extremely real. Product design is all about creating products that meet the end user's needs, are competitive in the market, and help to achieve business goals. To ensure success in these three areas, product design must consider 7 key elements. The first one is desirability, feasibility, viability, functionality, aesthetics, quality, and user experience. Now, what are these elements and how to implement them is something that we're going to look at it in detail. So let's go ahead and explore these elements. First one is desirability. So this considers whether the product you plan on designing is actually wanted or needed by the user or your target audience, right? If your product idea doesn't solve a user problem or meet a specific need, it is not desirable and therefore not needed in the market. So this considers whether the product you plan on designing is actually needed or wanted by the users or your target market, right? If your product idea doesn't solve a particular problem or doesn't solve a user problem, it is not desirable and it won't be needed in the market and hence it won't be successful. So this factor is very important when you're beginning to design a product, right? Then comes feasibility. So a good product must be feasible. In other words, it should be doable. Say, for example, your team or you could have the best idea in the world, but if it isn't achievable in terms of technology, materials, resources, or if it doesn't come under your desired budget or even the timeline, it is not feasible, and therefore the chances of it being successful get very low, right? Then the next one is viability. Product designer must also consider whether or not a product is viable. Will it make a smart business sense? Will the product be profitable and contribute to the long-term growth of the business? If you can't put forward a strong business idea or build a product, your idea is not viable, right? Then comes functionality. So every product must have a clearly defined purpose, and the product must be functional in that core purpose, right? It should be designed and built in a way that enables the end user to perform the desired task and should function just as the user expects it to. So say for example, WhatsApp, the primary goal or the defined purpose of WhatsApp was to connect the users, was to allow them to chat and call. Now say for example, you want to message your friend and you open WhatsApp and the chat feature does not function properly. So the basic defined purpose of WhatsApp has failed. And once the functionality is not matching the user needs or demands, your product is likely to not be that successful as your organization expected it to be. The next one is aesthetics. So a competitive product should offer a seamless functionality and a visual appeal. The aesthetics of a product help an organization to build a strong brand image and attract the target audience. It also helps to enhance the user experience. So the aesthetics could involve colors, imagery, typography, and the overall UI design of your product. In the case of physical products, it could be the materials that are used or even the color choice, right? Then comes the quality. Now this one is a key differentiator between your product and your competitor's product. The key markers of a quality product include performance, reliability, meeting the user's expectations, and adhering to the industry standards. If a product falls short in terms of quality, it will struggle to compete in the market, right? It will also affect the brand reputation and image. User experience is again a very important pillar of product design, which considers the quality of the user's experience with the product. So a successful product is easy to use and navigate, is accessible and inclusive, and does exactly what it promised. And then comes the user experience, which is a very important pillar of product design. It considers the quality of the user's experience with the product. So a successful product or a product with a good UX is easy to navigate, is accessible and inclusive, and does exactly what it promised.
Quiz time! What is the primary goal of a go-to-market strategy or GTM strategy? To define the product's technical specifications, to develop a plan for how to reach target customers and achieve competitive market positioning, to hire the development team for the product, or to set the company's long-term financial goals.
Waiting for your answer in the comment section.
Just a quick info guys, Intellipaat offers Executive Professional Certification Program in Product Management, which will help you gain expertise in topics like Product Lifecycle Management, Market Analysis, Agile Methodologies, and User Experience Design, along with mastering the latest tools and techniques with hands-on projects and real-world case studies. And the best part, this course will be taught to you by IIT faculty and the top 1% industry experts. What's more, you'll be getting certified in product management by the IIT Indore Drishti CPS. With this course, we have already helped thousands of professionals in successful career transitions. You can check out their testimonials on our Achievers channel, whose link is given in the description down below. Without a doubt, this course can set your career to new heights. So visit the course page link given below in the description and take your first step towards your journey as a product manager.
So this was all about product designing. Now let's go ahead and look at our next topic, which is stakeholder management. So in order to understand stakeholder management, first we'll go ahead and look at the stakeholders. So stakeholders are basically people or groups who are impacted by a project, an initiative, a policy, or even an organization. So now this impact could be positive or negative, and These people or groups could be internal, that is within an organization, or external, that is outside the organization. So a stakeholder is basically anyone who should have a say in the decision-making process for your product or service, or groups and people who represent a particular interest, such as environmental groups, NGOs, and so on, right? So these are the people or the groups that represent the stakeholders for any product or service. Now, stakeholder management is the process by which you organize, monitor, and improve your relations with these people, groups, or the stakeholders. So, stakeholder management basically helps you explore the perspectives of these different groups or people, anticipate what they'll think and do, and what might trigger them, right? Stakeholder management basically involves building trust. Now, whenever you're dealing with a variety of groups or a range of people who represent different ideas, different interests, and different perspectives, it is very difficult to find a common ground. Now, your responsibility here is to convince them that the solution that you have come up with, or the common ground that you are representing for all these different groups having different interests, is the best one, and this is the idea that is going to help your product or service succeed in the market, right? Then the next one is understanding stakeholders' needs, concerns, and priorities. Now, it is very important to acknowledge the stakeholders, their opinions, and what they say, and you need to give them opportunities to provide feedback and participate in decisions as well. So you need to make sure that none of the parties involved, none of the stakeholders feel neglected when you are coming up with a strategy for your product or service. Next comes ensuring stakeholder feedback, and the needs that are reflected by these stakeholders are reflected in your decisions. They are visible in your strategy for your product and service. So identifying your stakeholders, analyzing their requirements and ideation, then planning a strategy to meet the demands, and then engaging with them is something that comes under stakeholder management. Ultimately, stakeholder management, if done properly, should result in better decision making and overall better outcomes for all parties. So one of the easiest ways to understand stakeholder management is to look at a real life example, right? So for instance, when a government organization or agency creates a new policy, they must manage the different groups or the different people who have a stake in it. It could even be you and me, right? So there will always be various interests involved, and sometimes there is a possibility that these interests will conflict, right? There will be a disagreement on the interests of different parties involved. So some community or environmental groups might be completely opposed to the particular policy that the government is trying to launch. Some businesses might be very supportive of the change. Some local councils might not have a very clear idea of how it is going to affect them, whereas some academics and senior professionals might have an opinion that they would like to voice. So a situation like this could escalate very quickly and become a major political or media issue without proper stakeholder management. So this is where stakeholder management comes in the picture. It will look at all these different groups of people and try and anticipate how they're likely to respond to the particular policy that the government is trying to launch in this case, right? It is very normal for some people and groups to be quite happy with it, and whereas others might feel threatened or they might disapprove of the particular policy or idea, right? Through effective stakeholder management, you can look for areas of common ground, of common interest between the various interested parties, and identify the key areas of disagreement. So this will help you refine and adapt your policy to try and address these issues, and if possible, make the maximum number of groups be happy with it, right? That would be the goal or the agenda at the end. Now, to understand the stakeholders in an organization, let's consider an EdTech based organization where the company would offer products like courses on various topics, or services like maybe doubt clearing sessions, right? So in a business like this, the stakeholders would mainly comprise of, let's divide them, and So one category of the stakeholders would be a close circle, right? The closest circle that say a manager or product manager has to work with. So the closest circle would basically comprise of engineers who will be working on the front end, the back end, and the quality assurance, right? Then the designers who will be basically designing your website or the GUI for your course page, and it could be a number of things. Then comes the researchers who will basically be researching about the various courses, the material that the courses should have, and then there would be data and other product managers, right? The next category of stakeholders would be the people who pay you. They could be the presidents, the executives like CFO, CTO, CEO, and other positions, right? Then there would be the stakeholder team that would be the customer facing team. That would be the sales team, the marketing, the affiliate or partnership, and the support team as well. Now, the support team would basically be the team that would be providing your customers with the solutions for all their queries or problems, right? Now, the end customers would be your students or instructors or whoever that is interacting with the courses from both the ends. Then comes your business defender, who would be taking care of the new ventures, your finance, operations and general counsel, HR, learning officer, and corporate communications. So let's go ahead and look at these stakeholders in detail, understand their role and their importance, right? So the first one is designer. So a designer basically translates the goal of the product into a functional UX and nurtures that experience as the product matures through different stages of the product lifecycle. So a designer is highly important for an organization such as you could consider EdTech also, because they become a vital component, because designing is essential in various stages of a product, right? It could be, it will be implemented in the website, then whenever a new course is launched. So designing is very important. Then comes your engineer. So developing new products to use, providing maintenance to current products to enhance the use, and designing new machines to improve an organization's efficiency. So again, an engineer is very important. This is why designer, engineer, data, researchers, they come in the closest circle because they're highly important. Now, why is an engineer highly important? Because again, because of the role we just described, right? They are almost involved in every step of the way. Then comes your data engineers. They decipher the patterns, they create predictions, analyze, interpret, and draw conclusions from data sets. Again, they're highly important. The data they provide is important for each and every member of the product team, right? We need the data to understand the customers, analyze metrics, prioritize the features, and be objective about our decisions. Then come the researchers. They collect, organize, and analyze opinions and data to solve problems, explore issues, and predict trends, right? So again, just like the data engineers, we also need the research team to help us solve the problems and issues by doing research on a common topic, right? The next set of stakeholders are the marketing, sales, operations, and learning officers. Now, a marketing team, again, we know the role of a marketing team. It primarily focuses on creating awareness of your product, right? It could be through social media, SEO, content, and a number of things. So they are again important as we need them to create the awareness and make our end users, our target audience, know about a product. Then comes the sales team. So again, the goal of the sales team is to sell the product or service of your organization. It does so by, creating a relationship with the customer and then managing it throughout, and then finding the right time to convert these potential customers to actual customers. So again, they are important for the organization as the revenue of the organization depends on the sales team, right? Then comes the operations and general counsel. So they manage the legal risk associated with the business. So again, they're important because we need them to research about the regulations and inform us on the compliance around the new initiatives and the new laws so that we can avoid lawsuits, right? Then comes the learning officer. So The development of strategies and programs to ensure that the instructors have the skills and knowledge they need to be successful in their roles is done by the learning officer. So again, if our products or our services are not up to the mark, it becomes a quality concern, right? So learning officers basically provide a quality assurance for our products and services, which are our courses and doubt clearing sessions in this case. So our last set of stakeholders basically consists of people who deal with finance, affiliate or partnership, other product managers, and corporate communications. So finance is basically required to manage budgeting, accounting, predicting income, and creating profit and loss statements, right? So finance is generally important. We need the finance team to translate and make sure how our new initiatives impact the revenue, expenses, profit, cash flow, variation, and rate of interest, right? The affiliate or partnership, they basically bridge between the partners and our company. So we need a team to collaborate with the existing and new partners to identify projects for support and work with them to achieve the business goals, right? So they are comparatively less important in the stakeholder aspect because the company needs them, but they don't really have a lot of say in the decision-making process, right? So then we have our other product managers who work in their specific section roles. So they are again less important because even though a product manager is sharing the same role as the other product managers, they are different. They work in the different sections of products. So all you have to do is give them a casual insight on the strategies and the implementations that you have discussed with the other stakeholders, right? Then comes the corporate communications, who are responsible for coordinating the communications output within a company. So again, they are completely unimportant because they do not impact the role, as we do not need them in the daily job life, right? So this was all about stakeholder management.
Time for a quick memory check. What is the primary objective of stakeholder management in product management? To prioritize the product's technical features, to ensure all stakeholders are engaged and aligned with the product vision and goals, to handle financial accounts of stakeholders, or to manage the product's advertising campaigns. If you know the answer, make sure to drop them in the comment section. Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat offers Executive Professional Certification Program in Product Management, which will help you gain expertise in topics like product lifecycle management, market analysis, agile methodologies, and user experience design, along with mastering the latest tools and techniques with hands-on projects and real-world case studies. And the best part, this course will be taught to you by IIT faculty and the top 1% industry experts. What's more, you'll be getting certified in product management by the IIT Indore Drishti CPS. With this course, we have already helped thousands of professionals in successful career transitions. You can check out their testimonials on our Achievers channel, whose link is given in the description down below. Without a doubt, this course can set your career to new heights. So visit the course page link given below in the description and take your first step towards your journey as a product manager.
Now comes a very important aspect of the overall product management course. That is developing your product. So in the beginning, you started with an idea that is addressing a certain market issue, or maybe you had a revolutionary idea, whatever it is, your product now is the part in this particular product designing part is where you actually develop your product. But while developing your product, you have to make sure that whatever methodologies or whatever features you are incorporating in your product is aligning with the market. That is, your users are going to find your product useful. I mean, that is the end goal. Like, even if at the end, if you develop some really high-tech gadget, but if nobody requires that gadget, then what's the use? Like, I've heard of this one umbrella, which can generate wind so strong that it will just directly, like, the rain won't fall on you because of the wind speed. The wind will just cancel out the rain. But when you put into practical use, it doesn't work like that. It was a huge market fail, this particular tech gadget that I'm talking about. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if your product is not useful or productive in the market, if people cannot find a use for your product, then there's absolutely no need. Like, even if you put all your efforts, all your money, everything just goes to a waste. There are various methodologies that are out there. And as a product manager, it's up to you to select the best methodology that works well with your product, that aligns perfectly with your product. Although there's already a very trending methodology that is in the market, and although a lot of people use this methodology, we need to understand why this particular one methodology is used so much. It's more like a philosophy, but why is it used? Now, this is like our 11th grade CBSE, if you must have heard of the atoms model. We had to study about Dalton, Rutherford, Bohr. Now, although all of these models were rejected, we still had to learn about them because, you need to understand like what problems did we face, because without a problem, you cannot find a solution. So something like that. So this is the first method that we started with, which is the waterfall model. Now, if you can see, there's a straight out downward curve from the requirements, design, development, testing, deployment, and the maintenance. Now, the major problem with waterfall model is that you can see there is no going back. Like in the beginning itself, you state the requirements, your customer states the requirements. Now, let's take an example. Say you work in a car manufacturing company and you were designing a car. And your customer came up to you, they stated the requirements, you are making the car, and you reach the requirements is done, designing is done, development is done. You are in the testing stage, almost close to deployment. Just the testing, you're just testing out your car, it's working out fine. And that is when your client comes in and he's like, you know what, I have a new idea. Let's create an augmented reality. On the windshield, let's add a feature so that the live tracking and all we can see on the windshield itself. Now, your model is almost finished. You have reached the deployment stage. You cannot, now if you have to incorporate this feature into, if you're following the waterfall model and you have to incorporate this feature into your model, into your product, you have to go back from the beginning. Because waterfall model follows the documentation. Now, because of that, you need to go back again. Now you need to put the requirements again, design the requirements, align it with your product, develop it again, test it again. And in the middle of it, if the client comes back and adds another feature, this loop just continues and you have to start from the beginning. That is the worst part. So this is the problem with waterfall model. It's very rigid. Like it's not flexible at all. You cannot go back at any stage. It's like you have to start from the very beginning. That is from the requirement stage itself. And you have to document everything because waterfall model, it has a proper documentation. So everything is documented. And because of this very reason, this model failed because no flexibility at all. Any new requirement comes, done. So, these are some of the disadvantages that I just talked about. Inflexible sequential nature. Look at this. It's going down. That's the sequential nature. And inflexible, cannot adapt to new changes. If a new change comes in, you have to go back all the way again. Rigid structure. And this is also another problem, the testing part, because, you will be adding new features to the product. Like say, if you're testing out a new website, you front end and back end, it like happens in two different places, right? So your backend team is working somewhere, front-end team is working somewhere. You cannot put them together. You put them together at the end in the testing phase. And that's when you realize that half of the front-end parts are not cooperating with the backend parts only. Whatever we wanted is, it's not working in the way we expected it to be. So like we cannot keep on testing it. If you are incorporating a feature, you cannot test it out until the very end. So that is another very major risk with this. And because of this very reason, the risk of your project failing is like very high because the testing happens at the end, and at the end you never know what features might fail, what features might work. So if any of the feature fails, if any of your feature doesn't work as you anticipated it to be, then your whole project fails at the end. And again, customer feedback, it's almost like at the end, after your full product is developed, that is when you're showing your customers, okay, do you like our product? And like till that stage, your whole product has been developed. And even if there is any change, even if your customers provide any feedback, even if they want it to be changed, you again have to go back to the requirement stage. So then what was even the point? Now, because of this problem, we need a solution. And we did have a solution. The solution is known as Agile Methodology. Now, instead of having a very rigid structure like this one, starting with requirement design, flowing like this, like a waterfall, we went and had a circle, a loop. What we did, now Agile Methodology, it's flexible, collaborative, customer-centric. What does this mean? Flexible as in, at any point of time, you can incorporate any changes. Like, let's go back to the car example. My customer wanted to add an augmented reality windshield. So now I want to incorporate this in my project. But initially this wasn't there. Now I want this. But if I had followed waterfall model, I couldn't have done that. I would have to start from the very, very beginning, from the absolute first square. But with Agile Methodology, I can add a new loop into my project and add whatever this new feature, augmented reality feature is. Collaborative as in, We are developing the project by keeping the customer in the middle, by taking continuous feedbacks from the customer. So because of that, our project becomes collaborative. Again, customer-centric means the same thing, revolves around the customer. So that is basically Agile methodology or Agile philosophy. These are some of the perks. Agile methodology focuses on delivering value to the customers quickly. Project managers work closely with customers, and feedbacks are taken and included in the product development process from an early day itself. From the beginning, initial stages itself, we take continuous feedbacks for Agile methodology. This is the proper Agile methodology. This is a cycle, like I said, a loop. Design, develop, test, deploy, review. From the start to the finish, it's not just one loop. Keep that in mind. It's multiple loops. There are various loops included, and in every single loop, different processes are going on. Different processes, different features, different feedbacks. The project sometimes might change completely by the end of the product development process. This right here is Agile methodology. Now, if you want to have a better understanding, let's look at the table with the differences between Waterfall and Agile model. You can see that Agile model is highly flexible. Changes can be incorporated at any stage. Waterfall model, rigid. Changes cannot be made at all. Agile model, the delivery of the product is frequent, as in, like, as soon as the product, you add a new feature, you show it to your customer. Sir, do you want this feature? Or ma'am, do you want this feature? And you get the immediate feedback. If they want the feature, we can keep it. If they don't want, we discard it. End of story. But with Waterfall, you deliver the project at the end. Like, everything is done, and that's when you're delivering. So even if the customer wants a change, nothing. You cannot do anything about it now. Testing, it's again tested continuously in the loop itself. We saw here in the loop, you can see testing. It's there in the loop. And testing occurs only at the end. So if anything goes wrong, the whole project is blown out. Risk management. Risk is comparatively very less in Agile model because we are testing and taking feedback in every single stage. So if anything goes wrong, it is detected in the early stage itself. We are not waiting till the end. But in Waterfall, we are testing at the end. So because of that, the chances of your project failing is very high. Change management. Agile model thrives on change, but Waterfall hates change. Now, to understand Agile methodology is very widely used, like I said. And one of the most, I think even you must have used, I hope you all use Instagram. So you must have also noticed this change. Every single day you wake up, you open your Instagram and the UI has changed. Like one day my notification is here, another day it's down somewhere. And then you open it and Instagram is like, see where we are moving things around or something like that. So Instagram keeps on changing this. Why do they do that? What's the need for it? You have already made a UI. People are interacting with it. This is something called as A/B testing. This is where two or multiple versions of the products are tested to different customer groups to see which one customers prefer. Instagram does it on a regular basis. I feel like they still do it. So in this images itself, you can see how they are moving things around. Look at this create new post. In the first picture, it's over the top, and the second one, it's now in the bottom. This notification used to be at the bottom, now it's on top. Search button used to be at top, now it's at bottom. So they keep on changing things like that. Just to understand the comfort of the users, which one do you prefer as a user? And whichever version, A/B testing, multiple versions are there. Whichever versions work the best, has a more response from the users, they take customer reviews again. Based on all of these feedbacks, they can finally generate their final product. Although this is, I'm pretty sure, still going to keep change. Here's an interesting fact. Features like stories, reels, archive, close friends, all of this was also developed as a result of Agile methodology. They tried it out with a couple of people first and it worked. So they finally permanently incorporated it with the final product. Now, let's look at some of the key features of Agile methodology. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation, interaction over processes and tools, responding to change over following a plan, working software over documentation. What does this mean? Let's look at them one by one. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Now, this is something again you can relate with. You might think you like something today, tomorrow you don't like the same thing. And how can you, now if in your product itself, how can you guarantee that today you like this particular feature in your product? Maybe 10 days later or maybe 1 month later or maybe 1 year later, you might not like the feature. You might want to change that feature. So this is why a contract or a proper document is not followed in Agile methodology. Your customer's collaboration, what your customer wants, customer centric. No, so whatever your customer wants, that is kept in the middle. That is always their focus. Whatever the customer wants, we deliver. Documentation, we'll think about that. So working closely with customers to understand their needs and including their feedback throughout the development process. Next, responding to change over following a plan. Again, like I said, today I might like blue. Tomorrow my favorite color is red. There is no like guarantee that for now 10 years blue will be my favorite color. No, that's not possible. People change, your opinions change. So the whatever features you're adding, that also changes. Today, your customer might want a particular feature. Today, your customer might want to add a new feature, and tomorrow they might be like, no, I don't want this feature anymore. So because of that, the proper documentation cannot be followed. This might keep on changing. Again, Agile methodology welcomes change. So it's fine. They incorporate this philosophy incorporates the change. During the development process, regardless of the stage, even if it's the final stage, modifications are done according to the requirements by the customers, not the documentation. Okay, here's an example. This is actually going to be interesting. I am sure you must have all heard about Nokia. Nokia began way back in 1865. It used to be such a famous phone. I remember when I was young also. We used to have this iconic snake game and all in Nokia. Here's an interesting fact. We all know about Nokia as a mobile phone. Did you know about Nokia as a pulp mill? Yeah, Nokia started as a pulp mill manufacturing facility. And if you don't know what pulp mill is, it is a manufacturing facility that converts wood chips or other plant fiber sources into a thick fiber board. This used to be what Nokia used to do in the beginning when it started in 1865. And then through a series of mergers and acquisitions trailing up to 1960s, Nokia's empire was formed. But again, at that time also in 1960s also, they didn't start as a mobile company. They had like multiple departments. The four major ones were forestry, cable, rubber and electronics. And then in 1980, that's when they purchased the company called as Mobira. And that is when Nokia's venture into the mobile industry started. So it is again a very good example of agile methodology where obviously initially they were a pulp mill. And from making fiber boards, they went into making mobile phones because of the customer requirements. So this is another very good example of agile methodology. Moving on, third point, working software over documentation. Again, priority will always be to deliver a functional software that provides value to the customers. Like I said in the very beginning about that umbrella, it's a good idea, stopping rain with the wind. But if it's useless, if it doesn't add any value to your customers, just imagine, will you go around with an umbrella which is like throwing window on your face, your hair is like all a mess. Will you carry that anywhere? No. But the idea is good. It will stop the rain with the wind. But you can't carry it around. It's not something, at least I won't prefer that. I don't want wind blowing in my face when I'm going somewhere. Imagine the look. Imagine my face when I reach somewhere. It'll be like all wind blown. So I don't want that. So people are not going to purchase that kind of product. So that's why something that the customers prefer is what we want. Not documented, I think this will work, I want this. Not that. What the customers want. Again, interactions over processes and tools. Same thing, working closely with your customers to understand their needs and including their feedback through a repetitive process, through a cycle. Take their feedback, incorporate it, and then test it again. Show it to the customers, like it, not like it, whatever feedback, take it. That's a circle. And it's not just Instagram who takes customer feedbacks and works on it. You can see multiple platforms, Google, Uber, YouTube, all of these companies, they all take customer feedbacks to understand what their customers want and to develop their process so that the customers will find value in their product. Now let's look at now that you know how great Agile method is and what are all the features included in it and how it basically works, you have a basic understanding of Agile philosophy. Now let's look at how, as a product manager, you can incorporate Agile development methodology into developing your product. So there are multiple stages: product backlog creation, sprint planning, sprint, daily stand-up, sprint review, continuous integration and testing, incremental delivery. Let's get into them one by one. Starting with product backlog creation. Now product backlog is basically a list which contains all the features, enhancement, bug fixes and other requirements. This is called as the product backlog. This list is again based on the priority list by the customers. You can look on the left side that front-end UI design, customer data migration, user authentication. These are all the could do, should do, must do. It's like divided into 3 different segments. And as a product manager, you can divide it even into more segments if you want to. That's up to you. But basically, this is just a list which contains all the features or the errors that the customer wants, or that you think as a product manager that should be changed or incorporated into your final product. Next, we have sprint planning. In sprint planning, teams are selected from the product backlog. In the product backlog, we have certain things to do, like create the UI, maybe add this particular feature into the UI, add a new button, add a new login page, add a sign out page, add a feedback page. Now, obviously, these are all the tasks. Product backlog creation, you put all the tasks there. Now, you need to assign these tasks to certain teams. As a product manager, it's your responsibility to distribute these tasks correctly in between your teams. And that is where sprint planning comes in. In this sprint planning, all the items that you put into the list, they are divided into tasks. They're broken down into smaller tasks. And these tasks are going to last about 1 to 4 weeks. So you break these tasks, assign it to teams, and then the teams can work on these tasks because they're smaller now. So it can be broken down and you set it to an achievable goal. Next, you have sprint. Now, after breaking down everything, sprint planning, you have the actual thing, sprint. This is the core of agile development because this is where you actually get the things done. This is the development phase. You can see here, performance optimization, API documentation, SSN enable, automated testing. This is all the features that you need to add. Whatever you're doing right now, reset lost password, user authentication and integration, then the features that you have done. All these things, they are listed down, they're kept separately so that you have to, as a product manager, you have to analyze this list and figure out what needs to be done so that your product can be better. This is sprint. So, daily stand-ups. Now, this is not a proper meeting. This is just a short meeting which barely lasts about 15 minutes in which you just discuss or you plan for the day. Like, because agile process, it's mainly focusing on the smaller things. It's not looking at the bigger picture because we're working on what we want right at hand. What do we have? How do we solve this? That is agile methodology. So because of that, while starting your day out, you need to have a meeting just to understand what your team is going to work today, what are the roadblocks they might have, and discuss the progress. How much did you do yesterday? All of these things. That is a daily stand-up. Then you have sprint review. So in sprint review, a proper team meeting is conducted. Unlike your daily meetups, this is a proper team meeting where your teams discuss whatever work they've done. They demonstrate their work and you can see if this aligns with the stakeholders. Whatever stakeholders gave you to do, whatever the work which was given to you, if your team is able to align their work with the stakeholders' work. This is what happens in the sprint review. Next, you have continuous integration and testing. Again, as the name suggests, changes are made constantly along with testing new functionalities, ensuring that the software remains stable and functional as new features are added. This software developers can very well relate with. You're developing a new app, say, and then you add a new feature and suddenly nothing is working. This happens a lot with coders especially. So while developing apps and programs, you have, as a product manager, this is very crucial that if you're adding a new feature, the whole project doesn't fall down, doesn't tumble to ashes. It should stay intact even with the new features. That is what is happening in this particular process. Incremental delivery. Again, like I said this in the beginning itself, in Agile, the delivery happens in the middle only. Like it happens continuously. You don't wait till the end to deliver your final product. So instead of a complete product, small functional parts are delivered at the end of each sprint, allowing customers to start using the product earlier and provide feedback that can shape the product to provide the maximum value. So, because we're taking customer feedback so regularly, you can generate maximum value out of your product. Now, Agile methodology it's a philosophy. So now there are multiple frameworks that follow Agile philosophy. There are a lot of frameworks. You can see Scrum, Kanban, Lean, Extreme Programming, Dynamic System Development Methods, Scaled Agile Frameworks. These are all multiple frameworks. And as a product manager, it's your responsibility to understand what your team wants, the complexity of your task, the requirements from your stakeholders, like how well your teams can perform, how many teams you have. Based on all of these requirements, you can choose whatever framework you want to. But in this video, we'll be discussing the top 2 frameworks, which is Scrum and Kanban. Starting with Scrum. Now, this is like a very strict methodology. where an iterative framework where the development takes place in sprints. Again, sprints, which lasts about 2 to 4 weeks. Now you can see on the right, like for team A, there was a huge task. We saw in that product backlog list, there was a huge task. You broke it down. You gave it to team A. Okay, team A, work on the front end part. You work on the UI design. You work on the login pages. Make it more better. Make it more interactive. Team B, work on the backend. You connect with a new API or something like that. Set up a new API gateway or set up a new server. All of this is not for the front end team. It's for the backend team. And then you have to collaborate both of them together. So this is what happens in Scrum. A definite process is labeled out with the roles as to this team will do this team will do that. You can see for team A, download Android apps, sign into bank account, all of this. It's broken down. A huge chunk of task is broken down and assigned. Predefined tasks are assigned with predefined roles as well. So this happens when the project is very complicated, which requires such complicated breakdown. If it's a simple project, then you won't require such a strict methodology. But if your project is huge, then you need to break it down into smaller manageable chunks. And that is where Scrum comes in. Next, you have Kanban. Kanban is a Japanese name. Kanban. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Sorry. Kanban, it's more of a visual thing. And it's not as strict as Scrum because this is more visual. Okay, we have to design the UI. This is a priority task from the customers. We need to take their feedback, another task. We need to add an API gateway, another task. So this is just Kanban. You just show it in form of boards. That's what Kanban means. Boards, visual boards that you can see laid out. See, in the image, you can see the to-do list. It's just laid out. Implement feedback collector. And you can see there is no teams as such. There is no roles that you have to do this. It's listed out. We have to get this done. And you have to manage as a product manager that who will get it done. But it's not very strict as compared to Scrum. A visual and flow-oriented framework that primarily focuses on continuous delivery and optimizing the work process. Again, this is a scenario where flexibility and visual workflow management are required. Again, if there is say, maybe you have a full stack team, they can work on both front end and back end. So in that case, you don't have to be very, very rough with them. Okay, oh, you need to do this. Front end team needs to do this. Back end team needs to do this. The full stack team, they can work on both. So in that case, you don't have to be very rigid. We just have to give them the task and they will perform it. That's what Kanban is. To make it even more clear, let's just have a Scrum versus Kanban. Scrum is a structured and iterative framework that organizes work into fixed length cycles called sprints, whereas Kanban is more flexible and primarily focuses on visualizing work through Kanban boards. It does not have a defined role like Scrum, but limits the amount of work in progress. You can see the work in progress. And Scrum is more structured and time-bound, whereas Kanban is more flexible and flow-oriented. Like I said before, if you have a very simple project, if it's not that complicated, you can go with Kanban, where your team has much more flexibility to incorporate more changes. But Scrum is more time-bound and the tasks are predefined, so you need to get this done. Next comes the product development lifecycle, consisting of 5 stages: concept and design, development, production and launch, service and support, and ending with retirement. Let's look at them one by one, starting with concept and design. Now, this is the stage where your idea is conceived in the beginning. This idea is generated keeping in mind the market requirements, potential opportunities, and labeling the product's purpose and target audience. The idea of your product should be very important. Your idea should be able to provide value to the user. That's what concept and design is. Now, once the concept is established, the design phase begins where you have to design, create prototypes, refine the product's features, and plan its functionalities. Designing involves both what the product will do and how we will build it. Next, we have development. After designing your project in concept and design comes the development part, where you're actually putting your design into use. Now, you create your product. For a software, it might be, including the code and like writing the code down, testing. But for a hardware product, it's more engineering and manufacturing. So development phase primarily focuses on turning the design into a functional prototype. It should work. Whatever you thought about, it should work. Ensuring it meets the quality and standards as your stakeholders expect you to. Next is production and launch. Now, production involves manufacturing or assembling the product at a large scale. Now, this is very important because, if you're introducing a new product into the market, as a product manager, you have to make sure that people know about it, right? Because if you launch a product and nobody knows about it, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to use it. So as a product manager, it becomes very crucial that you develop the correct strategies so that people will know about your product. That is where production and launch comes in. Covering market strategy, distribution plans, and initial sales effort. Ultimate goal is the successful introduction of your product to the market. People should know that your product came out. People should buy your product. Services and support. Again, this happens after you have launched. Say you found out the perfect marketing strategies, everything you laid out properly. Now your product is out in the open. Now, obviously, people, the new users at least, like say the example of AWS. If you use it for the first time, you will have doubts. You will not know how it properly works. Amazon Web Services, you won't properly know how it works. If you are using maybe a new PowerPoint tool, say Canva, you wouldn't know how it works. You will have to refer to documentation, maybe talk to people, understand how it is working. So this is where services and support comes in. So if it's beginning, like if it's newly launched into the market, then you would have no idea. Like if your product is already old and you are like in Microsoft itself, Windows 10 was already there. You introduce Windows 11. People don't need too much help because they've already used Windows 10. So they know how Windows 11, there were a lot of changes. The interface and all was changed. But still, you will have some kind of ground knowledge as to how this works. It's not completely alien to you. But if it's a product that hasn't been launched into the market yet, you will definitely have doubts. How do you use it? And that's when you call the customer support or you refer to documentations. 3 things while you are introducing the product. Target audience, your unique selling point, what makes your project unique. Third, where can you find your target audience? What are the platforms they use? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Meta. What are the platforms they use? How can you target them? This is also very important. Next comes the retirement phase. Now, this may or may not affect a particular project, or this may or may not affect a particular version of the product. Like you can say about this again, Windows 10 only. Windows 10 people still use. It has not completely retired yet. People still have Windows 10. A lot of people have Windows 10. But a newer, better version, Windows 11, is here. So you can use it. So this is basically retirement. This stage includes managing the transition, handling the remaining stock, and supporting customers through the change. Like introducing a newer version or shutting the thing down completely, like Nokia. Now you have MVP. Okay, how do you introduce your project? This is again part of Agile philosophy only. MVP or minimum viable product is the first version or the first draft of your project that you can present in front of your users so that they can use the product and give you feedbacks, but it is not the final feature. It's just the core. It just has the core functionalities so that users can use, they can give you the feedback, and then according to whatever they need, you build it further. So this is how MVP looks in general. Build, measure, learn, iterate. Build, develop MVP with essential features. Measure, gather data and feedbacks from the user. Learn, analyze the feedback and understand what works and what needs to be improved. Iterate, make changes based on the insights. Build your project, show it to the customer, they give you some change, take it back, analyze it, put it into your product, give it back again. This whole cycle is MVP. Now to understand this better, let's take an example. We all know about Uber. This was established in March of 2009 in San Francisco, California. In 2022, they had a 2.65 trillion in INR rupees. So now we all know how big Uber is. But did you know that when Uber was started way back in 2009, it only had 3 cars, just 3 cars. And these 3 were very luxury, fancy cars. They thought, this idea generated by their owners only. Like they were going home one night and that's when they thought they couldn't get a taxi. And that's when they thought, wouldn't it be nice if I had a taxi? I could just order and then I could order a taxi from an app on my phone. They had this idea back in 2008 or something. And then they worked on it. So obviously they cannot just go on a full scale launch because at that time this idea wasn't there. Booking a cab on an app wasn't there. So they cannot just fully launch their idea. What if it fails? So that's why they started with 3 cars. Like following the MVP, enough to introduce your product into the market, enough to introduce your idea into the market and get the customer feedback. They introduced their 3 cars into the market, gave it to the initial customers, and it worked. They got good responses. So they started adding different car models, they targeted different customer groups, and then they grew into the huge brand that we have right now. This right here is a wonderful example of MVP. This is basically how MVP works.
Hi, time to check what you have learned so far. In the Agile Methodology, what is the primary focus of the Scrum framework? Writing detailed product documentation, conducting long-term project planning with no flexibility, delivering iterative and incremental product updates through sprints, or ensuring stakeholders are unaware of development progress. What does MVP or minimum viable product refer to in the product development lifecycle? A fully featured version of the product ready for final launch, the version of a product with the fewest features necessary to test and validate the core concepts, a product designed for marketing purposes only, or the final stage of the product development process. If you know the answers, make sure to drop them in the comment section. Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat offers Executive Professional Certification Program in Product Management, which will help you gain expertise in topics like product lifecycle management, market analysis, agile methodologies, and user experience design, along with mastering the latest tools and techniques with hands-on projects and real-world case studies. And the best part, this course will be taught to you by IIT faculty and the top 1% industry experts. What's more, you'll be getting certified in product management by the IIT Indore Drishti CPS. With this course, we have already helped thousands of professionals in successful career transitions. You can check out their testimonials on our Achievers channel, whose link is given in the description down below. Without a doubt, this course can set your career to new heights. So visit the course page link given below in the description and take your first step towards your journey as a product manager.
Now let's look at some of the famous user-friendly designs on the applications that you and me both use on a regular basis. You must have seen the Made For You section in Spotify, where you get your daily mix 1, daily mix 2, or whatever genre of music you listen to. Like in my case, if I listen to a lot of pop music, I will get my own pop mix. How does that happen? Or how about Zomato's amazing notifications that everybody's talking about? How do you get that notifications on a regular basis? I'm sure there's not a person sitting behind in the backend servers and sending you the notification. How is that happening on an automated basis? Or when you're browsing a product on Amazon, how do you get the similar kind of product? Maybe of a different color, of a different design, of maybe a different price range. How is that happening? How is Amazon filtering out the same kind of products that I want to browse? Or how about Myntra's OTP login system, which increases the customer satisfaction drastically? Or how about WhatsApp's QR code scanner in the web WhatsApp version? Have you ever wondered how all of these backend services facilitate or catch the user attention? This is one system that we're going to be dissecting in this particular module. But if I were to go and talk about all of these, how the OTP is generating, what is happening in the WhatsApp web, or how Zomato is sending notifications on a regular basis, it's going to take an eternity. So in this particular module, we'll be talking about Netflix's recommendation system, because this is something which highly caught my attention. You must have noticed, if you use Netflix, that say if you watch a particular genre a lot, maybe action or comedy, then the particular movies that you're going to suggest, Netflix can change that particular thumbnail to match your interest. If you watch a lot of action movies, the thumbnails you'll be getting will be related to action. If you watch a lot of comedy movies, the thumbnail you'll be getting is of comedy. How is that happening? That is exactly what we'll be looking in this particular module. Now let's break down Netflix's backend architecture to figure out exactly what is happening when you interact with their website and how you are able to get the kind of movies that you like to watch a lot. Starting with the user interaction. Obviously, it starts from the beginning and it all depends on the kind of content you prefer watching. Not just the kind of content, but a lot of other factors are also involved, like the play, pause, stop. When you watch a particular movie or a particular TV show, how long are you watching it? Or what is the genre, what is the category of the movie you're watching, or which language are you watching in? And then the year-wise suggestions. There are a lot of categories there. Search queries. What kind of movie are you searching in, or what kind of TV show do you prefer watching? Your browsing behavior. When you look at a particular thumbnail, do you click on that thumbnail or do you scroll past it? Your likes and dislikes. If you like a movie, you can like it. There's a like button beneath the movie, so you can click on it. Or if you don't like it, you can click on dislike. And your profile information, such as, again, your preferred genre, your preferred language, etc. All of this data is collected from the user interface according to your interactions with the interface. Now, what happens to this data? Once the data is captured from the user's device, it is sent in real time to Netflix's backend services. These services operate globally and use a data streaming pipeline to handle massive volumes of data. But where is this data being sent? Obviously, the data is collected, it's sent somewhere. Where? In Netflix's case, this data is sent to a messaging system called as Kafka. Now, you can think of Kafka as a warehouse. All of this data that is being collected from the interface, it is all being sent to Kafka, which acts as a storehouse. And now, obviously, this data is further sent to analyze based on some analytic system or based on the recommendation system. That is all the next process. But in the beginning, this data is collected and it's kept in Kafka. Think of it as a warehouse for now. Moving on, real-time processing. Obviously, you collected the data, you stored the data, now you have to process the data, work on the data, get something useful from the data. The next step involves real-time data processing to ensure recommendations and content personalization are continuously updated based on user action. Now, again, there is a possibility that right now I really love watching action movies. What if 2 days later my preference changed to comedy? Then if Netflix keep on recommending action movies to me, I won't be interested because now my interest has suddenly changed. Now I suddenly want to watch comedy movies. So now Netflix needs to process this data based on my search queries and based on my sudden change of interest. Netflix has to process this real-time data and generate new movies for me or provide me the movies that I want so that I will stay on the website. I won't leave the website. This is how the retention rate is increased. Now, what is the real-time processing tools that Netflix uses? Apache Flink and Apache Spark. Apache Flink and Apache Spark. What are these? Apache Flink processes the stream data in real time. For example, if you just started watching a new show on Netflix, Netflix may update your recommendation within seconds by processing this data with Flink. Apache Spark, Netflix also uses Spark to handle large volumes of data for certain complex analytics and real-time batch processing. Again, we talked about this. Right now, if I feel like watching comedy movies, but my previous browsing history show that I prefer action movies, but now I want comedy movies. So this data is again processed by Flink. Flink is the one that processes this data in real time based on my sudden change of interest and provides me new recommendations. Spark is mostly used for batch processing. It's for large volumes of data, not for the real-time processing. It's for when you have a huge, when the data amount is vast, like they can, because now I'm suddenly interested in comedy movies, they can provide me movies which has both action and comedy. So that's again batch processing. That's where your Spark comes in. But for real-time processing, you need Flink. Now, this Kafka, Flink, and Apache Spark might sound a bit confusing. So let's just break them down and look at the differences in all three. You can think of Flink as a live worker because I said real-time processing. So based on my current tastes, it has to process the data rapidly and give me recommendation based on my current interest. Kafka is more like a delivery service. It doesn't process any data. It's just delivering the data. Like if the recommendation system wants some data, Kafka will have the data. It will provide it to the recommendation system. If the analytics system wants it, Kafka can provide it, but doesn't process it. Spark is more like a factory processing where there are large amounts of data, or if based on my previous browsing history, if Netflix wants to recommend movies based on my browsing history, like the past browsing history, then again Spark is used. So that is the main difference between all three of them. Next, we have storing the data. Where is the data stored? AWS. Netflix depends largely on AWS. Once the data is processed, we saw how the data is getting processed and all. It is stored in Amazon Web Services. Depending on the type and volume of the data, different databases and storage solutions are used for different types of data. What are those? DynamoDB, S3, Cassandra. DynamoDB, fast-changing user data such as user interaction history, play, pause, search events, likes is stored in DynamoDB, a NoSQL database that allows low latency access. S3 is for larger unstructured data like your viewing history, metadata about content, genre, themes, and media files. Thumbnail, promotional images are stored in S3. Cassandra, a NoSQL distributed database used for distributed storage of historical user activity. Now you can see that depending on the type of data, that is, if my real-time processing, which was happening with Flink, all that data is stored in DynamoDB. But if it's a large unstructured data for factory processing, like we talked about for Spark, then it's again stored in S3. But if I have to store the history of my user activity, of me as a user, if I want to store the whole history of me as a user, then that is stored in Cassandra. Netflix performs deeper analytics and aggregates data over time. These aggregated datasets help improve long-term recommendation and inform Netflix's content acquisitions and production designs. Say, like I said before, if, this is an example, if I really like action movies, then if a new action movie comes on Netflix, say this Deadpool and Wolverine, then I'll be the one of I'll be the target niche who first gets this kind of recommendation because it aligns with my interests. So that is why this long-term data aggregation becomes very crucial. So that if a new movie comes in, but Netflix, this Deadpool movie was like trending, so it will naturally have to come there. But say if a new movie comes, say in a particular language, say in Hindi language, then that if my interest lies, if I watch a lot of Hindi movies, then obviously that I will be part of the target audience who gets suggested that Hindi movie to first. Or maybe some other audience who doesn't, maybe the South audience who doesn't really watch a lot of Hindi movies, they won't be getting suggested that unless their particular interest lies there. If they have to search for the similar Hindi movie, they'll have to go and search for it. It won't be willingly recommended to them, right? So that is why this data aggregation factor becomes very important. Now, how does Netflix does it? By using Amazon Redshift and Hive. Amazon Redshift. Netflix uses Redshift as its data warehouse solution. Aggregated data such as historical user viewing patterns is stored in Redshift for complex querying and reporting. For Hive, for again batch processing of big data, Netflix uses Hive and Hadoop to run queries across distributed datasets. These systems process historical data to detect long-term trends. Again, basically in a nutshell, based on your preference, you'll be provided that kind of content. To make sure that in the long term also you're provided the same kind of content, Netflix uses these tools. Moving on, machine learning model training. This is very, very, very important. Machine learning models are trained using this aggregated data. You got the data. You have the data that is personalized for every single particular user. But now you have to, obviously a person cannot be sitting behind the server in the backend and be recommending movies to you. If somebody is searching for a comedy movie, say if I was running Netflix, I cannot be sending them action movies. Oh yeah, you like this? Okay, yeah, watch this. I cannot be doing that. So models, machine learning models have to be trained according to the viewer's personalized, according to the viewer's preference. And that is exactly where this machine learning model training part comes in. Machine learning models are trained using this aggregated data to improve the accuracy of the recommendation system. The models are retrained continuously to ensure that the recommendations reflect the current trends and the behaviors. Obviously, the trending content must be put in the system, must be put in the interface, but along with that, the user's preferred genre should also be there. How does this happen? What are the machine learning models that Netflix uses? Amazon SageMaker. Netflix uses SageMaker for developing, training, and deploying machine learning models. It enables the company to build custom algorithms and integrate them into the production environment. TensorFlow. Deep learning models are trained using these frameworks to identify complex patterns in user behaviors and content preferences. This is the machine learning modeling part because, like I said, a person cannot be sitting behind the server 24/7 watching all the millions and billions of users who are using Netflix and suggesting them movies. So this has to be automated. And that is where the machine learning models come in, like SageMaker or TensorFlow. These deep learning models, they can train models in SageMaker and all, and these models themselves predict your behavior based on your interaction with the interface. Personalized recommendations. Now, this is one of the features that I really, really love about Netflix. You can see just for one particular show, Stranger Things, there are 9 different thumbnails here. Again, who does this? The machine learning models that we just talked about is behind all of this. Again, these designs, these thumbnails that are showed to you depends on your interest, whatever kind of thumbnails you prefer, whatever the kind of thumbnails that are likely to increase the click-through rate for you as a person, Netflix's models, machine learning models, are going to put that particular thumbnail on the shows for the show so that you are more likely to click on it. Once the models are trained, the recommendations are generated based on both real-time data, like what you have just watched, and historical data, your long-term preferences. Monitoring and feedback loop. Netflix continuously monitors how users interact with the recommendation system by using different strategies. A and B testing is basically 2 different versions, or maybe in Netflix's case, 9 different versions. Whatever works for you as a user and for a group of people who resemble similar interests like you, Netflix's models are going to recommend or provide that kind of content for you so that you as a user are more likely to stay on the website. Again, customer feedback is also actively taken from you because whenever you watch a movie, after you watch the movie, you can see the like, dislike buttons there. So you can click on them, or they take surveys on a regular basis as well, so that they can understand you as a customer better, make the system as much personalized as they can for you, so that you get more out of their system. In a nutshell, user interaction, data collection and streaming, real-time processing, data storage on AWS, data aggregation and analytics, machine learning, model training, personalized recommendation, monitoring and feedback loop. This is what makes Netflix such an amazing experience for we as a user. Now, obviously, like I said in the beginning itself, if we were to talk about every single application, about how these technical aspects are turning out to be, it will take an eternity. Say if someday you were to create a recommendation system for your own, then these are all of the components that you need to keep in mind. This is an overview of how the Netflix system works.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat offers Executive Professional Certification Program in Product Management, which will help you gain expertise in topics like Product Lifecycle Management, Market Analysis, Agile Methodologies, and User Experience Design, along with mastering the latest tools and techniques with hands-on projects and real-world case studies. And the best part, this course will be taught to you by IIT faculty and the top 1% industry experts. What's more, you'll be getting certified in product management by the IIT Indore Drishti CPS. With this course, we have already helped thousands of professionals in successful career transitions. You can check out their testimonials on our Achievers channel, whose link is given in the description down below. Without a doubt, this course can set your career to new heights. So visit the course page link given below in the description and take your first step towards your journey as a product manager.
This is the module 7 of product management course, post-launch analysis. We'll start. After the successful launch of your product comes the part of post-launch analysis. Post-launch analysis is a method of analyzing how well your product performed in the market. Now, again, this phase is very crucial as it sets out a stage for your product's long-term success, its future growth, and its journey through the rest of its product cycle. But pinpointing exactly what factors to consider can be a bit difficult. However, there are certain factors that you can keep in mind while conducting your post-launch analysis, and that is exactly what we'll be discussing in this particular module. Here are some of the key metrics that you need to keep in mind while performing post-launch analysis, such as sales figures, customer feedback, website traffic, social media, and competitor analysis. Now, although these terms are pretty self-explanatory, there are certain questions that you can ask yourself to figure out to understand exactly what these terms mean, such as, like in the case of sales figures, how many units have been sold? What are the current revenue trends? What is the sales growth rate over time? How do sales compare with the set targets? What's the sales growth rate over time? As in, if you launched your product last week, you can analyze how is the product performing in the first week? How is the performance in the second week? Is it better? Is it getting worse? Then how do sales compare with the set targets? Before launching your product, you might have had a vague idea, or probably a set target goals that, okay, our product is supposed to reach this particular target. So after you've launched your product, is that happening? Then in case of customer feedback, you can ask, what are customers saying in reviews and ratings? How satisfied are customers according to survey results? What type of issues are being raised in customer support queries? If you, say, have launched some kind of website or an application in mobile phone, are there any issues coming from the users? Are they commenting? How are they reacting to your application? Then you have website traffic, as in how many page views and visits is the website getting? How is the kind of traffic? How many people are coming to your website? What is the bounce rate and average session duration? Bounce rate, as in how many people are just opening your website or opening your mobile application and they just don't really go through it, they just ignore it and go away. Is that happening? How many people are leaving like that? What is the average session duration? Or if a person who is not bouncing from your website, who stays on your website, how long is the person staying on the website? What are all the components they are interacting with? What is the website's conversion rate? As in, say, if I downloaded Myntra, then if I'm going through Myntra's shopping collection, how likely am I to become a user, register myself as a user, and then buy their products? Where is the website coming from? Where is the website's traffic coming from? Is it organic? As in, if I am going on my own Play Store and installing, say, Myntra, that's organic. If paid, you must have seen a lot of content creators on YouTube as well that where they show you some certain products, or where they advocate for some kind of products which is not their own, which is some third-party products. Now, because these third-party websites or company owners, they pay these content creators to promote their products. That is paid. Then there is referral, where if I use a particular product, then I go in and tell my friend, oh, I use this particular application and it's really cool, you should also check it out. That's referral. Then you have social medias. If you're posting about your product on social media, what are the engagement level? How many people are liking your content? How many people are sharing it? What kind of comments are coming on your content? Is the follower rate for your official Instagram ID, is it going up? Is it going down? What is the overall reaction on social media? Then you have competitor analysis, which is very, very important. How are the competitor pricing strategies? How are our pricing in comparison to our competitors' pricing for the same product? What are competitors' sales and market share? What features or innovation do competitor products have that we don't have? What marketing campaigns are the competitors running, and how can we use it to better our products' position in the market? Such questions are there. Now, although I've given you an overview, it's also very important, like if you have to break it down and get a proper plan, it's just now I've only given you an overview, like, okay, you can ask these kind of questions, but when it comes to assessing a product properly, you need a proper plan. And that is where different kind of frameworks come in. Post-launch analysis frameworks. There are a lot of frameworks out there in the market, but we're only going to focus on the main ones. That is A3R3 and SWOT analysis, two very important frameworks. Now, you must have already studied about A2R3 framework in the previous modules as A3R3 Funnel. This is the same thing except minus the awareness fact. Everything else is there. Acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral, it is all there. So you already know about A3R3 Funnel. This is the same thing. I'm not going to go much into the definition, but the same framework as you have already seen how it can be used during the product's development cycle. It can again be used after the product has been launched into the market. How? That is exactly what we'll be looking in with the help of an example in this next module. Here we're going to do a case study of Grammarly to understand how Grammarly very tactfully uses A3R3 or A2R2 framework and conducts and how they attract users with the help of this framework. Starting with acquisition. The company specifically targets SEO keywords that address specific pain points such as affect and effect to attract users. Now, if you're not a native English speaker like me, then obviously such words can be a bit confusing. When to use affect in a sentence? When to use effect in a sentence? What is the difference? These kind of questions does arise in your mind. And Grammarly is very strategically pinpointing or highlighting or addressing this exact solution so that it can grab your attention as a viewer, as a user for the website. And then repurposing all their existing posts into other formats to capture bigger and wider audience. You must come across a post from Grammarly and they will edit the same post. They will change the colors, the font size and everything. So that the next time you see the post, you will, it's a different post. You will think it's a different post, but the contents will be the same. So that's repurposing their existing posts. This is again to grab a wider and a bigger audience. Next, you have activation. Every single time a user uses Grammarly for the first time, the users are going to receive welcome emails briefing about the onboarding process. Grammarly uses multiple systems where they receive new emails and additional tips and tricks, which attracts the user, which makes the user go around and try Grammarly. For the free to paid conversion emails, Grammarly captures the audience with discount deals for advanced features. If you must have used Grammarly, you must also be receiving emails like these from Grammarly on a regular basis. This is to keep your attention so that you keep on using Grammarly, which brings us to the next topic, retention. Retention stage is where the loyalty of your customer is tested. Customers continue using the product and where retention is the stage where your customers have already used the product. Either they keep on using it and they keep coming back to your product. Metrics include customer retention rate, customer lifetime value, and customer churn. We're going to look at what all of these terms mean in the upcoming slides. But for now, just focus that retention is the part where you need to keep your audience intact. Make your audience stick to to your website? What can you do so that you can increase the session duration for which a user stays on your website? For Grammarly, it personalizes your work. It personalizes your weekly updates. It keeps on sending you reminders and notifications so that you will keep on going back to Grammarly. It keeps on reminding you about its existence so that you can keep on going back to Grammarly. Next, you have revenue. Revenue is more like the cross-selling and upselling emails. This means if you must have used Prime Video, you can say that once you get Prime Video, like, oh, subscription, I got subscription, now I can watch every single video. And then you scroll down and then you see different kind of other subscriptions inside Prime Video itself. Like Lionsgate is there, Manorama Max is there. So these are the cross-selling and upselling. So for Grammarly, it's not there because there's just a pricing plan for free, pro and enterprise. You take one, that's it. You're stuck with it for the rest of your, like, however time the subscription period lasts. You're stuck for it, or you're stuck with it. There is no upselling or cross-selling involved with Grammarly. Next, you have referral. Referral, this is again a wonderful strategy, affiliate marketing, where even Amazon and all big companies like Amazon and all also use this. Like if you use they will give you a particular link, and if you use that link to promote their product to a third person, then when the person, if they like buys a product, or if they go buy this pricing by Grammarly, then you will get paid because it's your link. And this way they are advertising their product. So Grammarly advertises about their products by placing a tracking link or banner on a website, and the existing user gets paid when another user signs up for and installs Grammarly via the existing user's affiliate link. As in, if I am using Grammarly, I can get a link, an affiliate link, and if I give that link to you and then you click on that link, I will get paid by Grammarly because you just used my link to buy their product. That is affiliate marketing. Next, we come to ROMI, or return on market investment. Now, ROMI is simply a metric that is used to measure the effectiveness or the profitability of your marketing strategies. After you launch your product into the market, this is like a mathematical calculation. This is a calculation. You will get the answer, the result in numbers. This is basically a spent versus generated ratio. Keep in mind that this ratio should be above 5:1. Exceptional ROI can be around 10:1. Anything below 2:1 ratio is considered as non-profitable. So whatever numbers you're getting, it can be either positive or negative. So whatever numbers you're getting, based on that, you can get a clear idea of how your product is performing in the market. There is a particular formula for this. That is, marketing ROI is profit minus the marketing cost divided by the marketing cost multiplied by 100. Like I said, it can be positive or negative. A positive ROMI indicates that your marketing efforts are generating more revenue than the cost. As in, whatever efforts you put in, whatever cost, whatever money you put into the product, the revenue that you're generating is higher than the cost that you put in. Then it's a positive ROMI. But if it's reverse, as in the revenue you're not generating, although you put in a lot of money in there, but it's not able to generate a lot of revenue, then it's a negative ROMI. Then there are certain important terms in ROMI that you must remember. Like a couple of slides ago, I said we'll come back to this topic. So this is one of that important terms, churn rate. Churn rate is the percentage of customers who stop using a service or buying a product over a specific period of time. Say if I launched my own streaming platform today, you might become my customer. You might start watching the movies and TV shows that I have on my streaming platform. Say you watched it for 1 month, 2 months, third month, you got bored, you left. So that the amount of customers who are leaving after a certain period of time, say after 3 months, my customers are leaving, that is the churn rate. Again, there's a formula for this. That is the number of customers lost during a period divided by the total number of customers at the start of the period multiplied by 100. Then you also have the click-through rate. Click-through rate measures the percentage of people who click on a link, ad or email compared to the total number of people who viewed it. As in, people might subscribe to your website and then you send them emails. How many of the people who had subscribed to your website are actually opening up your emails, are actually interacting with your emails, they're clicking on the links that you send them? That is the click-through rate. Again, you can measure it, number of clicks divided by the number of impressions multiplied by 100. See, the point is the customer behavior, the set of rules and regulations, or even the economic conditions can vary drastically depending on which particular area you are at. So a one-size-fits-all approach cannot work for your product in every single location. Like maybe there's a trend happening in Delhi there's a very high chance that the same trend is not happening in Karnataka. So based on the areas, a lot of things can change. So again, a one-size-fits-all approach is not exactly useful or practical when it comes to a global strategy, when you're devising a global strategy for your product. So hence, you need to fine-tune your product, which involves adjusting pricing, product offering, promotional tactics, or distribution methods to align better with the unique characteristics of each market, ensuring higher effectiveness and local relevance. Like I said, there might be a trend which might be very relevant in Delhi, but that has nothing to do. Maybe people of Karnataka know about it, but it's not very relevant again in Karnataka. That can happen. A thing like that can happen. That is why fine-tuning your product to adjust with every single market. If I fine-tune my product so that the people of Delhi will like it as much as the people of Karnataka will like it as well, that is where I'm fine-tuning my product and getting a wider range of audience. How do we do that? We can do that by adjusting the pricings. Maybe in a rural market, if a product is naturally generated in a rural market, it will be less costly there. It will be cheaper there. But if you take that product out of the rural market into some other part of the country, there's a very high chance that the same product, which was very cheap in the rural market, is getting very expensive outside that rural market because you're not able to get that product anywhere else in the world. That is what pricing. Product offerings, as in, if you must have heard of this aloo tikki burger and all that you get in India. In Japan, they have a teriyaki burgers. So this, it's McDonald's products only, but these burgers that they're giving in Japan, that resonates with the Japanese users, Japanese consumers. They like that kind of flavors. So that's why they have a specific burger range like that in there. But in India, people prefer chicken and fish more. So in this case, we have aloo tikki burgers and options like that, which appeal to the Indian audience. Then you have promotional tactics, as in Coca-Cola once had this share Coke or something like that kind of promotional tactic where you had memes over Coca-Cola's bottles, so you could share it with your friends, promotional tactic. Then distribution methods, as in Apple's is global market. Apple has a better reach with the audience in a global, in more developed cities like in the US, where they have their own stores. But in countries like India, they have to connect with retail shop owners so that they can sell their products through these retail owners. Again, there are a lot of frameworks that you can choose for according to your needs, you can choose a lot of frameworks. But in this particular module, we'll be looking at the two most common or the two most famous frameworks, that is PESTEL and SWOT analysis. We'll be starting with SWOT because in the previous slides, we mentioned SWOT, but we didn't really go deep into this. That's because in this particular slide, I will show you SWOT analysis. We'll be performing SWOT analysis on Coca-Cola. So I'll show you in detail how SWOT is performed. But before that, what is SWOT analysis? SWOT analysis is a strategic planning tool used to evaluate a business or project by identifying its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It helps businesses understand their internal strengths and weaknesses along with external opportunities and threats to develop efficient strategies. Let's take Coca-Cola's case study. Let's look at the strengths so we're just gonna look at the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats for Coca-Cola brand in general. Starting with the strengths. Strong brand identity. The iconic Coca-Cola bottle with its distinctive contour has been instantly recognizable since its design in 1915. High brand valuation. In Interbrand's 2023 report, Coca-Cola is ranked 8th among global brands with a valuation of $58 billion. Extended global reach. Coca-Cola products are sold in nearly 200 countries with 2.2 billion servings consumed daily. Brand association and customer loyalty. Known for its joyful and happiness-focused advertising, Coca-Cola enjoys strong customer loyalty. Next, let's look at the weaknesses of Coca-Cola. Product diversification. Although Coca-Cola has launched new products, not all have achieved success. There are a lot of products of Coca-Cola out there in the market, and I bet you don't know all of them. Discontinued popular products. Coca-Cola has removed popular product items like Tab, Odwalla, and Zico from its lineup. I have never heard of any of these, but apparently there were fan bases for all these products, and since nobody really knew a lot about them, they have been removed for various reasons. Dependence on soft drink market. Coca-Cola's heavy reliance on the soft drink market means any disruption could adversely impact its business. I'm sure you must have heard of that Ronaldo's case when he simply removed 2 bottles of Coca-Cola from the table. How drastically it had affected Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola as a brand is heavily dependent on soft drinks. So the moment Ronaldo said soft drinks are not, you should drink agua, you should drink water, that very instant. Next, you have opportunities, healthier options. Again, Coca-Cola is hyper-focused on soft drinks. They can provide more healthier options. Consumers are leaning towards healthier choices, presenting Coca-Cola with a chance to launch new products in the healthy drinks and food categories. Emerging markets. Africa is expected to be the fastest growing market for carbonated soft drinks, according to Mordor Intelligence. Packaged water demand. With the global packaged water market projected to exceed 45 trillion by 2032, Coca-Cola should consider expanding further into this sector. As in, they can launch packaged water as well, and people will buy it because the global market is increasing for packaged water. Next, you have threats, lawsuits. Like many large corporations, Coca-Cola has faced numerous lawsuits for various reasons. Water usage and environmental issues. This is one of the prominent issues with Coca-Cola. Social and environmental groups have criticized Coca-Cola for consuming large amounts of water. That is why I mentioned the case of packaged drinking water, because it have a very good, it can increase, all these activists who are going against Coca-Cola for this water usage issue, if they supply packaged drinking water, they can tackle this issue. Direct and indirect competition. While Pepsi is a clear competitor, Coca-Cola also faces indirect competition from brands like Starbucks, Tropicana, Lipton, and Nescafe. Rising health consciousness. More consumers are embracing healthy lifestyles and steering clear of products with unhealthy ingredients. So, in a nutshell, this is the SWOT analysis of Coca-Cola. Strengths, it's an iconic brand. It has a wide global presence, and it has a lot of loyal customers, very high brand valuation, has a very high market share. Weaknesses, a very intense rivalry with Pepsi, broaden product range. They don't broaden their product ranges. They're not addressing health concerns. Opportunities, they can expand presence in developing countries like we discussed about Africa. They can take over the packaged water, drinking water market. Threats, water usage disputes, packaging concerns, direct and indirect competitors. Now let's move on to the next framework used, very popular framework, PESTEL. PESTEL is again now preferred for global strategies because it provides a comprehensive view of external factors like political, economical, social, technology, legal, and environmental. Now, again, let's consider another case study of Amazon to understand all of these factors better. Political. Amazon faces pressure from governments regarding antitrust laws and employment practices, as well as cybersecurity and data privacy regulation impacting its operations, especially AWS. Now, this happens because AWS is even really good platforms like Netflix and all, which we'll see in the upcoming modules, use AWS's services. So how does Amazon guarantee the safety of the users, the privacy concerns of the users who are using AWS? All of these issues are there, disputes with the government and the antitrust laws and things like that. Next, you have economic. Rising disposable incomes in developed economies boost e-commerce demand, but inflation and supply chain disruption increase the costs. The growth of cloud computing also drives AWS revenue. Now, obviously, a lot of people are using Amazon every single day. And based on that, they are ordering a lot of stuff as well. But there can be disruptions in the supply chain market where they're delivering the product. Because if you order it online, but the product has to come, like it has to be delivered, it has to go through the supply chain. Any disruption in the supply chain can disrupt the whole product delivery process. But the cloud computing part of Amazon AWS is thriving. So it's a wonderful amount of revenue for Amazon. Then you have social. Increasing consumerism and demand for same-day delivery. With Prime subscription, you can get same-day delivery. This has to push Amazon to innovate their logistics, again, the supply chain market. The rising dependence on technology aligns with Amazon's expansion in cloud services and AI. Technology. Amazon invests heavily in robotics automation to improve logistics and AI innovations in AWS, enhancing service offerings and operational efficiency. If you use AWS, you must have seen how there are chatbots, and even the queries that you raise in AWS, they are all solved by AI. And even in their warehouses, they're using robots to increase so that the work is performed on a faster basis. Next, you have legal. As in, the challenges with unionization and labor laws affect Amazon's workforce management, while changing import-export regulation and taxes complicate global operation. Now, Amazon has to, from its warehouse in US, they have to bring all of that stock into India, into the Indian market, and into different global markets as well. This means they have to go through a lot of taxes and rules and regulations and global import-export policies and things like that, which can become hectic for them. Next, you have environmental. Rising energy costs and pressure to reduce the environmental impact of packaging and carbon emissions are pushing Amazon to adopt more sustainable practices in its supply chain and logistics. With this, we can wrap up the use case of Amazon. I hope you have been able to understand PESTEL in a better way with the help of Amazon's case study.
Hey, welcome to the finale. In the A2R3 framework, which of the following is not one of the key stages? Acquisition, activation, retention, or optimization? If you know the answer, make sure to drop them in the comment section. Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat offers Executive Professional Certification Program in Product Management, which will help you gain expertise in topics like Product Lifecycle Management, Market Analysis, Agile Methodologies, and User Experience Design, along with mastering the latest tools and techniques with hands-on projects and real-world case studies. And the best part, this course will be taught to you by IIT faculty and the top 1% industry experts. What's more, you'll be getting certified in product management by the IIT Indore Drishti CPS. With this course, we have already helped thousands of professionals in successful career transitions on our Achievers channel, whose link is given in the description down below. Without a doubt, this course can set your career to new heights. So visit the course page link given below in the description and take your first step towards your journey as a product manager.
Now let's look at some of the important interview questions that are going to help you land a job as a product manager. Starting with the first question, how do product manager expectations differ between B2B and B2C products? Now, this question is asked to check your understanding of products. What separates a business-to-business product from a business-to-customer product? Let's look at a sample answer. Product manager expectations differ between B2B and B2C products in several ways. For B2B, the focus is on managing complex client needs and longer sales cycles, requiring strong relationship management and integration with business systems. In B2C, the emphasis is on user experience, scalability, and quick iteration based on consumer feedback, with a focus on engaging and retaining a large user base. These differences impact how product managers approach product development and strategy in each domain. Let's look at the next question. How do you prioritize user research methods to align with market trends and customer needs? Obviously, as a product manager, you have to manage a lot of teams that are working under you. But at the same time, when you need to have exceptional management skills as a product manager. We have made it very clear in the previous modules. But I've also said in the previous modules that there are a lot of frameworks available in the market. Now, how do you as a product manager, how can you choose a strategy or a framework that aligns very well with your product as well as the marketing trends? How do you do that? That is the intent behind this question. Here's a sample answer. I prioritize user research based on the product stage and goals. For early stage products, I focus on the qualitative method like user interviews to understand the user's needs. For mature products, I use a quantitative method like surveying to validate trends. I always align insights with market trends and competitor analysis to ensure we meet customer needs while staying competitive. Moving on to the next question. What strategies do you use for competitive analysis and how does it impact product development? Like we discussed about Netflix in the previous modules. If I were to start my own movie streaming platform for like tomorrow, there are already a lot of other competitors out there like Netflix, there is Prime Video, there is Disney Plus Hotstar. How would I align my product so that customers are also visiting my website? What are the changes? What are these companies using so that customers are drawn to them? How can I use those methodologies? How do I find out those methodologies? That is the intent behind asking this question. Here's a sample answer. I use a mix of direct competitor analysis, market reports, and customer feedback to understand where our competitors are excelling or falling short. I track their product updates, pricing strategies, and customer reviews to identify gaps or opportunities. These insights help prioritize features that give us a competitive edge or address areas where our products needs improvement, ensuring we stay relevant and innovative in the market. Next question. How do you assess market dynamics and incorporate trends into your product roadmap? Now we know that if I were to develop a product tomorrow, I need to understand my competitors. I gauged out the excelling, whatever features they were excelling, whatever features the customers liked in their products. I incorporated them into I figured out those strategies or those features that the users liked in those particular websites. Now that I have the data that, okay, Netflix uses such a recommendation system, Amazon uses this kind of recommendation system. Now I have that data. But now what do I do with that data? How do I incorporate this particular data into my product? That is what is the intent behind asking this question. Here's a sample answer. I regularly assess market dynamics by monitoring industry reports, customer behavior patterns, and emerging technologies. I also track competitor moves and feedback from the sales team. This helps me identify key trends and shifts early. I then incorporate these insights into the product roadmap by adjusting priorities, introducing new features, or pivoting on certain strategies to ensure the product evolves with the market needs. Next question. How do you align the sales and the marketing strategy with your product goal? Okay, now that you know that this particular feature I need in my product, what kind of marketing campaigns are you going to launch? What are the sales strategies that you're going to incorporate so that your product is a success in the market? If I use the same strategies as Netflix or say Amazon, it won't work. I need to use a different kind of strategy. How do I promote it with the sales team? How do I promote it with the marketing team? That is exactly the intent behind this question. Here's a sample answer. To align the sales and marketing strategy with product goals, I start by ensuring clear communication and collaboration across team. I work closely with both sales and marketing to make sure they understand the product vision, target audience, and the key problems our product solves, the USP or the unique selling point. This helps in creating a unified go-to-market strategy that is aligned with customer needs and business objectives. We regularly meet to review progress, share feedback, and adjust our approach based on performance data and market trends. Moving on to the next question. What key elements are crucial in a GTM strategy? Now, obviously, as a product manager, you must be able to develop a compelling GTM strategy that can guarantee the successful launch of your product into the market. When your product is introduced into the market, you need to be able to devise such strategies so that there are higher chances of your product succeeding in the market. Here's a sample answer. Key elements of a go-to-market strategy include defining the target market, establishing clear positioning, and identifying key value propositions. It's crucial to outline the sales and marketing tactics, set launch timelines, and allocate resources effectively. How do you define product design to meet user needs and market demands? Again, we have discussed this in the previous modules that no matter how good your product is, if the users are not able to find it useful, if they are not able to find it relevant, if it's not relevant in the market, then there's absolutely no point of you developing that product. So as a product manager, how do you make sure that your product is aligning with the customer demands, with the customer trends, with the ongoing market trends? Here's a sample answer. I define product design by first conducting user research to understand their needs and pain points. I then analyze market trends and competitor offerings to ensure our design stands out. This involves creating prototypes, gathering feedback, and iterating based on insights to balance user preferences with market demands. The goal is to design a product that is both user-friendly and competitive in the market. Next question. What strategies do you use to manage conflicting interests among stakeholders? Obviously, if you are a product manager, you're managing a lot of teams underneath you, and then you have to make sure all these teams are in sync. And then you have to report all of this to the stakeholders and make sure that everything remains calm and peaceful. Now, you have to be very careful because this can be a very conflicting and dangerous territory. You have to manage both the teams and the stakeholders effectively. As a product manager, it all falls on your shoulders. How do you do that so that it doesn't become another Big Boss episode? Here's a sample answer. I manage conflicting interests among stakeholders by first identifying their concerns and priorities through regular meetings and discussions. I then facilitate open communication to understand the root of the conflicts and seek common ground. By negotiating compromises and setting clear expectations, not over expectations, I aim to align their interests with the project's goals. Transparent communication and documenting agreements help prevent misunderstandings and ensure all parties are on the same page. Next question. How do you apply Agile methodology and Scrum practices in your product development process? This question is again asked to test your understanding of Agile and Scrum practices and how you can integrate these practices into your product to make it better. Here's a sample answer. I apply Agile methodology and Scrum practices by structuring our development process into iterative sprints, typically lasting 2 to 4 weeks. I start by creating a prioritized product backlog which guides our sprint planning sessions. During sprints, we hold daily stand-up meetings to address progress and obstacles and conduct sprint reviews and retrospectives to assess performance and improve processes. This iterative approach allows us to adapt quickly to changes, gather regular feedback, and continuously deliver value to users. Notice how the Agile methodology is being broken, all the steps of the Agile methodology, and is being explained. This is exactly what the interviewer wants to hear out of you. Next question. What key stages do you focus on during the product development lifecycle from idea to the launch? Obviously, in a product's life cycle, every single stage is important. But as a product manager, which particular stages do you most focus on? Here's a sample answer. I focus on several key stages during the product development lifecycle, starting with idea validation through market research and user feedback. Next, I work on defining the product requirements and developing a roadmap. During the development phase, I ensure that we follow agile practices to iterate and refine the product. Finally, I manage the testing phase to address any issues before coordinating the launch and post-launch activities to monitor performance and gather user feedback for future improvements. Next question. How do you determine the scope of a minimum viable product and ensure it meets the user needs while being feasible to develop? Developing an MVP when you're launching a product becomes very crucial. We've discussed this in the earlier modules as well, that MVP needs to be in such a way that your users are able to interact with your product, but at the same time, your product should also be able to deliver value. As a product manager, how do you solve that issue? How do you come up with a product that checks all these boxes? Here's a sample answer. I determine the scope of an MVP by first identifying the core problem or need that the product aims to address. I then prioritize features that are essential to solving this problem and providing immediate value to users. I work closely with stakeholders and the development team to ensure that the selected features are feasible within the available resources and timelines. Regular user feedbacks and iterative testing helps refine the MVP to meet user needs effectively while staying manageable for development. Notice how the in this particular answer, you're trying to manage both the development team and the user side, like you're balancing both the developing side and the user side. This is what we want. Next question. How does Netflix's personalized recommendation algorithm enhance user engagement and what can be learned from it? This is again a use case study based question. This is not to understand not your understanding of Netflix. This is to understand what can you get out of Netflix's interface. We'd already discussed Netflix's case study. What can you understand? How can you implement it in your product? Here's a sample answer. Netflix's personalized recommendation algorithm enhances user engagement by using data on viewing history, preferences, and ratings to suggest content tailored to individual taste. This creates a more relevant and enjoyable experience, encouraging users to spend more time on the platform, increasing their retention. By analyzing user behavior and leveraging machine learning, Netflix continuously refines its recommendations. From this, we can learn the importance of using data-driven insights to personalize user experiences, which can significantly improve user satisfaction and retention in our own products. Let's move on to the next question. What key metrics do you focus on during post-launch analysis to evaluate product success? Now, obviously, as a product manager, post-launch analysis is very important. But it can be difficult to understand the certain points that that helps you figure out what you need to look out for, what are the metrics you need to watch out for so that you can guarantee, so that you can increase the success of your product, so that you can secure the future of your product. Here's a sample answer. During post-launch analysis, I focus on key metrics such as user adoption rates, engagement levels, and retention rates to gauge out how well the product is performing. I also track customer satisfaction through feedback and monitor revenue metrics like sales growth and return on investment. These metrics provide a comprehensive view of the product's success and help identify areas for improvements or further development. Notice how in the answer the key metrics are highlighted, like the user adoption rates, engagement level, retention rates, sales growth, ROI. This is what you need to focus on. Next question. How do you apply the A3R3 framework to assess user acquisition and retention after a product launch? This question is again intended to gauge out your ability or your understanding of the A2R3 framework or the A3R3 funnel. Here's a sample answer. I apply the A2R3 framework or the A3R3 funnel by first analyzing how users are acquired through various channels and tracking their initial interactions with the product to ensure effective activation. I then monitor retention rates to see how well users are engaged over time and identify any drop-off points. Revenue metrics are assessed to understand the monetization effectiveness, and I evaluate referral rates to measure the product's ability to generate organic growth. That is the people who are coming to your website without any referrals or any kind of promotion activities. This comprehensive approach helps pinpoint strengths and weaknesses, allowing for targeted improvements in user acquisition and retention rates. Our last question. What are the benefits of using PESTEL analysis for optimizing global strategy, and how might it apply to a company like Amazon? We've already discussed this. Again, this is a use case based question. They just want to understand, the interviewer just wants to understand how you are able to incorporate PESTEL into your product's development. Here's a sample answer. PESTEL analysis provides a structured approach to understanding external factors that can impact global strategy. For Amazon, it helps in identify political and economic trends that could affect market entry and operations, such as trade regulation and currency fluctuations. Social factors like changing consumer preferences are critical for tailoring product offerings, while technological advancements can drive innovation and efficiency. Environmental and legal considerations ensure compliance and sustainability. By using PESTEL analysis, Amazon can anticipate challenges and opportunities in different markets, allowing for more informed and adaptive global strategies. Look at how they have broken down PESTEL and used it and linked it with Amazon. This is what you need to do for such questions. That's all, and wish you all the best for your interview.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat offers Executive Professional Certification Program in Product Management, which will help you gain expertise in topics like Product Lifecycle Management, Market Analysis, Agile Methodologies, and User Experience Design, along with mastering the latest tools and techniques with hands-on projects and real-world case studies. And the best part, this course will be taught to you by IIT faculty and the top 1% industry experts. What's more, you'll be getting certified in product management by the IIT Indore Drishti CPS. With this course, we have already helped thousands of professionals in successful career transitions. You can check out their testimonials on our Achievers channel, whose link is given in the description down below. Without a doubt, this course can set your career to new heights. So visit the course page link given below in the description and take your first step towards your journey as a product manager.